Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be at the Miracle Morning 10-year anniversary event, and I hope you are also. My name is Brianna Greenspan. I'm the co-author of the Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations, and I'd love to know, where are you coming in from? Maybe you got here on YouTube or Facebook. Where are you? Drop in the comments what country you're in, what city you're in. I see so many people in so many different countries. It's amazing to see our global audience coming together for this amazing memory that started 10 years ago by our friend Hal Elrod. Hi from Philly, hi from Central Florida, hi from India, Canada, Brazil, Germany, Italy. Amazing. Let's get started by sharing where you're coming in from in the chat, and we'll get started in just a moment. In the meantime, I hope you're excited. If you need to grab something to write on and write with for all of the wisdom that Hal's going to share, this is your moment to do so. It's exciting to see our global audience. Hi from Finland. Hi from Algeria. Hi from France. Hi from Iraq. Oh my gosh, what an impact the Miracle Morning has made on the whole world over the last 10 years. Hi from Poland. Hi from Orlando, Morocco, UK, Germany. It's just amazing to see so many people coming together from all over the world. All of us aligned with the mission of elevating the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. And it was 10 years ago today that impact started when the Miracle Morning book finally came out. And since then, so many things have happened. There's a book series, there's a movie, there's a documentary that features not only Hal's journey, but other amazing influencers and their morning journeys. There's an app. There's so many other avenues like the Miracle Morning podcast that Hal shares with us every week. There's so many ways that you could have come to the Miracle Morning, yet we're so happy that you are here right now. I'm just seeing all the comments. Hi from Bangladesh. Oh my gosh. Hi from Venezuela. Hi from Brazil, Portugal, India, Bangladesh, France, the UK, Belgium, Canada. So nice. So nice. Keep saying where you're calling in from. And we're going to bring Hal up in just a moment. Loving seeing this amazing global audience. One of the things that I think is so interesting is that even if we're in different parts of the world, all of us still have a personal practice that connects us all. Hi from Missouri. Hi from Indiana. Amazing, amazing. And I am about to bring up our dear friend, Hal Elrod, the creator of the Miracle Morning, who's been working literally day and night to make sure that this experience is something that's meaningful and memorable for all of us. There's exciting insights that he's going to share with us, a couple of special announcements, and of course, so much wisdom on how the Miracle Morning got started, the behind the scenes, and what we can all take away from it. One of the things that I've noticed about Hal's leadership is that there are so many things that many others have modeled about the way that he shows up and the way that he started his own community. So I hope that you are showing up to this experience with two lenses. One, on the value that you can receive, and two, on the value that you can add to others based on being at this experience. Without further ado, Hal Elrod.
Bree.
Welcome.
Can you hear me, Bree?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. That countdown just totally interrupted the flow and interrupted you, but that's okay. I'm so grateful to be here. Before you jump off, and I'm going to bring you back on later, but thank you, Bree, for your leadership. And for anyone that doesn't know, Bree was my coaching client when I thought of the Miracle Morning. And one of the first people I ever shared it was saying, Bree, are you a morning person? She said, no, absolutely not. And now she is the director of education for the Miracle Morning. She leads the Miracle Morning Clubhouse room, and we'll talk more about that later. Bree, I love you. Thank you so much for opening up today.
Love you.
All right, let me see if I can work the tech here. We got some tech. Let's see. There we go. All right, I'm going to kick Bree out of here. All right, Bree's kicked out. All right, before I jump to the tech, let me jump back. This is new tech to everybody, so I'm learning this as we go here. Welcome. Seeing the chat is it's surreal. Hearing Bree name all the different locations around the world, and what it reminds me of is something I've been talking about a lot over the last couple of years on the podcast, which is that every single one of us, despite our differences, our relatively superficial differences, meaning our beliefs or our ideologies or our political affiliations, which often we think of as very important, we identify with those, it's our humanity that we share. And I'm reminded of that because you're here for a common purpose. It's elevating your consciousness, becoming the best version of yourself. And it doesn't matter what your race, your religion, your nationality, your sex, your age, it doesn't matter. Universally, we are all human beings. And I want us to be present that you and I and every single one of us today, we will always have far more in common as members of the human family than we will ever have different. So I just want to make sure that is said and that we're all present too. We are literally part of the human family. I want you to look in the chat, and I want you to think about that. When you look in the chat right now, I want you to think that these are members of my family. And you may hear me say on the podcast, I often say, I love you. I tell you, I love you. And you may be, as a listener, sometimes some of you may embrace that and say, I love you too. Some of you might go, how could he say he loves me? He doesn't even know me. I genuinely mean it because I believe that we are family. I literally think of you as family. I think of every stranger as a member of my family. And I'm inviting you to consider that paradigm. Think of the people that irk you. Think of the people, which often that is your family, right? But think of the irk you. Think of the people that that are different, right? That have totally opposing opinions or beliefs than you do. That maybe that triggers you. And realize that they're just like you. They're just human beings doing the best that they can with what they know to be true, what they believe to be true. And let's start embracing each other, all of us, every single human being on the planet. Let's embrace each other with love, compassion, empathy, and connection. All right, that was off script. I didn't mean to talk about any of that. Here we go. Let's dive in today. I'm actually going to share with you the agenda. We have an agenda for today. 3 parts. How many parts, everybody? Hold up your fingers. I can't see them, but hold them up. 3 parts. Number 1, the Miracle Morning 2.0. What's possible for you when you wake up to your full potential? Because that's the essence of the Miracle Morning, right? Waking up every day and elevating who you are to become the best version of yourself, to wake up each day to your full potential. Part 2, we have 3 exciting announcements. I know you were promised 2 exciting announcements, but there's actually a 3rd that I'm sneaking in there. So you're gonna love these. And one of them is designed to help you elevate your Miracle Morning and take it to the next level. And the other announcement is about paying it forward and continuing this mission of elevating the consciousness of humanity one morning and one person at a time. I want to check the chat real quick. Kinga, day 13 of the Miracle Mornings. Awesome. All right. Part 3, ask me anything. I'm going to stay on as long as I can. I scheduled an hour, but if you guys got more questions, I'm going to share with you. I'm going to coach with you. I'm going to answer your questions and help you in any way that I can. All right, let's keep going. All right. So part 1, the Miracle Morning 2.0. What's possible for you when you wake up to your full potential. You're about to hear the story of the Miracle Morning and like the behind the scenes story. And I almost didn't put this event on because I deal with the same insecure voice. You probably have this one too, right? Just self-doubt. And I kept thinking to myself, that voice kept saying, Hal, nobody cares about the 10-year anniversary except you. Don't make, is this going to be, you don't make this about you. how can we serve? How can I serve the audience? And so I really want you to listen to this story. I think you're going to enjoy this, but I want you to see this story. I want you to see yourself in this story. I want you to see yourself as, like me, someone who had an idea, didn't know if it was a great idea, didn't know if anybody would like it, suffered from imposter syndrome, thinking no one's going to wake up early because I tell them to, but continuing to follow through and do what I felt in my soul I was being called to do, to serve humanity. And we've all got that inside of us, that idea, that inspiration, that strategy, that practice, that paradigm, that thing that has served us. And we feel like if I share this with others, I could help them. But that voice of insecurity stops us from sharing. And we end up playing small far too often. And again, I want to wake you up to your full potential through the story I'm about to share. All right, so here's where we're going to start the story. 12, 12, 12. 10 years ago to this day, the Miracle Morning book was published. Now, I got to give a quick backstory. What you don't see here is the 3 years it took me to write the Miracle Morning. What you don't see here is the 1 year it took me to even start writing the Miracle Morning, because that voice of self-doubt was so loud. 3 years of writing the Miracle Morning, and many days I thought, this is a waste of my time. I don't know how to articulate this in a way where it's actually going to convince people to get over the limiting belief that we all have. I'm not a morning person, right? That's most of us, not everybody, but the majority of Miracle Morning practitioners that do the Miracle Morning every single day were not morning people before they read the Miracle Morning or they watched the movie or however they got introduced to the practice. This is one of my favorite graphs, one of my favorite images. And this, I hope, inspires you. If you look at the beginning, this is from 2012 of December when the book published to November 2015. So this is roughly a 3-year period. Now, you may know that the Miracle Morning, when I set out that first year, my mission was to change 1 million lives one morning at a time. In other words, it was to sell 1 million copies of the Miracle Morning to change 1 million lives. And that year, I lived by what I call the miracle equation. You may have heard of that before. It's one of the books right there. Unwavering faith, meaning that when you feel self-doubt and you feel fear, you override it with faith. And you simply affirm, I know I'm afraid, but I'm committed to give it everything I have, no matter what. There is no other option. That's my unwavering faith affirmation. I took that year on with unwavering faith. And the second part of the miracle equation is extraordinary effort. And I went out and I said, I will do everything in my power. I will work every day from morning until night to share the Miracle Morning message with as many people as I can so that I can change 1 million lives one morning at a time. That year, I did everything I could. I was on 150 podcasts and nobody knew who I was. I just had to reach out and with passion share that I had this idea that could change people's lives and I wanted to share it with their audience. I did 52 of my own podcast episodes. I hired a publicist and I got on 13 morning talk shows. I gave 36 speeches across the country. I did everything I knew to do. And I worked tirelessly to share the Miracle Morning to reach 1 million people. And that year, I sold 13,000 copies. So I was 98.7% short of my goal. I want you to think about that. How would you feel at the end of the year if you gave everything you had to reach your goal and you fell short by 98.7%? Was I discouraged? Absolutely. But the miracle equation, not the Miracle Morning, the miracle equation is unwavering faith combined with extraordinary effort for as long as it takes. And so I dusted myself off and I said, I'm committed to reach 1 million people, no matter how long that takes. And I thought maybe I could do it year 2. I don't know. So I gave it everything I had. And if you look at this graph, this is the first 3 years. I just want you to look at how low the sales, this was the book sales, by the way. Look at how I'm pointing at the graph on my screen. You can't see the screen I'm looking at, but look at how low the sales were. I kept doing everything in my power. And just wasn't selling very many books. And it took 3 years before I finally hit that critical mass. They call it the tipping point. And then it took off and I kept the momentum up. And it took 6 years to reach 1 million people. And of course, now it's well past that. But I want this slide. Take a screenshot of this slide if you can, and let this inspire you. This is what success looks like. Being an overnight success, it takes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to become an overnight success. But you don't usually see this, right? You just see, the actor in their blockbuster movie, but you don't see the years preceding it of sleeping in their car and waiting tables and so on and so forth. All right. Eventually, the next phase was the Miracle Morning book series. The author of the Miracle Morning for Salespeople, which is that orange book right there. My friend Ryan Snow called me and he said, Hal, I've been sharing the Miracle Morning with my sales team, and every single person that's implementing it has increased their sales. Have you ever thought about doing the Miracle Morning for salespeople or some kind of spinoff? I said, not really, but I love that idea. Do you want to co-author it with me? And so we started co-authoring the Miracle Morning for salespeople. Then I had a friend who was a real estate agent, Michael Mayer, reach out and say, hey, the real estate community needs the Miracle Morning. And so the Miracle Morning for real estate agents was born. And one after another, organically, I would connect with someone, usually someone that was a friend of mine who was successful in an industry, like Pat Petrini did the Miracle Morning for network marketers. And by the way, I want you to be aware of something that I didn't know until I crunched some numbers earlier this year. The Miracle Morning book series has reached over 1 million people, not including the original book, just the series books. All the other books on the screen, except the original, have reached over 1 million lives. It's incredible. And I could not have done this without Honore Corder. I want to take a moment to honor Honore. I met Honore. It's an interesting story. I met her by reading a Goodreads review. I reached out to her, we connected, and she had written the Successful Single Mom book series. And I was fascinating that she wrote this book series and I was starting a book series. I said, hey, do you want to help me to create a book series for the Miracle Morning? And she was on board. She was a Miracle Morning practitioner, and the rest is kind of history. Honore helped to write every single book in the Miracle Morning series that you see, except for the original, but all the book series books. She has co-created, co-authored 14 of them with me. And when I was in the hospital fighting cancer, Honore stepped up and she continued the projects we had started. And she published 2 books in the series when I was fighting for my life. And I wasn't even able to help. She just did all the work with our co-authors. And so I don't know if Honore is watching, but Honore, I love you. I am so grateful for the support and the impact that you've made in my life and the millions of people that have read the Miracle Morning book series books. Then I was connected with Celeste Fine, and we translated the Miracle Morning in 37 plus languages. And that's why when you look in the chat, you see everyone from all around the world, over 100 countries, people are practicing the Miracle Morning. In fact, here's a fun fact in case you don't know this. The Miracle Morning community is like 70% outside of the United States. Only 30% of the Miracle Morning practitioners are in the United States, in America. And for those of you that are tuning in from around the world, that's the majority. The majority of our audience is actually international. And that's why this global community, check out this map on the screen. This represents all of the places where the Miracle Morning is. And it's, like I said, it's transcended nationalities and races and religion and ages. And I think it's so beautiful because it's connecting with one thing that we all have in common. I believe that every single one of us has an innate drive and desire to fulfill our potential. But nobody teaches us how to do that. Think about that. When you go through school, I don't know about you, but they didn't teach me to fulfill my potential in school. They taught me to follow orders. They taught me to, study information so that I could regurgitate it on a test, right? They didn't talk to me about how to become the best version of myself to impact humanity in the most positive way that I can. And I believe that that is what the Miracle Morning has stirred within all of us, is this drive. It's taught us how to tap in every single day to the person that we know we're capable of being, the best version of ourselves. And I want to acknowledge two people right now, because I couldn't have done that without Celeste Fine and John Moss. Celeste, they are my agents for the Miracle Morning. And they are the ones that got it translated into 37 languages and in over 100 countries. They're the ones that published the Miracle Equation, if you've read that follow-up book to the Miracle Morning. And they are right now working with major publishers to bring the Miracle Morning to retail. You guys realize that in the United States, the Miracle Morning, it's not in all the big box retail stores yet. And that's the next level, to reach the masses. And they're working on that right now. By the way, you're going to notice a theme. I acknowledged Honore, I acknowledged Celeste and John, and I'm going to acknowledge a few more people, because this mission, the Miracle Morning, I get too much credit for it. I don't want the credit. Like, first of all, the message came from God, in my opinion. Like, where do ideas come from? I don't know. But I feel like this was a message that was given to me to share with other people. Not to get too woo-woo on you all, but collective consciousness, wherever we tap into the genius, the ideas that we have. I don't know where they come from, right? But you ever had an idea that you've never had before? Where did that come from? Something you've never heard before, something you've never learned before, something that you have no experience in your past. Where did that come from? I don't know. And that's why I take very little credit for the Miracle Morning. Yes, I've worked really hard to share it, but it's people like Honore and people like John Moss that saw and Celeste Fine that saw the vision and believed in it. And it's you. It's people like you that are sharing the Miracle Morning with other people. You're sharing the books, you're sharing the movie, you're sharing the app. Thank you, because no one succeeds by themselves. It's a team effort. And of course, this is you. Look at this slide. The Miracle Morning Facebook group. John Vroman. I don't have a slide of John Vroman, but he should have his own slide. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. You might know him as the founder of Front Row Dads. When I was writing the Miracle Morning book, I sent the rough draft to a handful of my friends and to my parents and my sister. I said, hey, this is almost final. Can I get your feedback? And John Vroman reached out and he said, Hal, have you thought of doing like an online, like a Facebook group or something for the Miracle Morning readers? Because it's going to be a very isolated thing. They're up early. Nobody else that they know may be doing it. And they need a place to connect and get support and feel like they're not alone. And he said, why don't you create a Facebook group? And so the Miracle Morning community was born like a month before the book published. And it was me, my mom and dad, John Vroman, my buddy John Berghoff. Like, there was a few people. And now it's over 330,000 people. It's one of not just the largest and the fastest growing Facebook communities. I don't care about that. It's one of the most engaged, non-judgmental, supportive online communities in the world. To me, it's one of the finest examples of what humanity should be. People from all walks of life, from all races, religions, colors, and creeds, who wake up every day and dedicate time to fulfilling their potential, your potential, and supporting each other to do the same. I think the Miracle Morning Facebook community is one of the most beautiful, just a shining example of humanity at its finest. Here's a couple examples of some posts from the community. Manon LeBlanc said, I completed the 30-day challenge this morning and I'm going to keep going. I feel amazing, right? There's people in that community every day that are brand new. It's day 1 or day 30. And then you see Lisa Wyeth here, day 2094. Miracle Morning, I woke up feeling good today. I said my prayers and thanked God for giving me another day. I am grateful for life, roof over my head, and fresh water to drink. I have completed my saves. I guess she left out the reading that day. And it is going to be a good day, right? 2,000 Miracle Mornings. Here's another one. Eric Glenn. Today's the 3-year anniversary of starting the Miracle Morning, day 1096. It is unreal to even think about sometimes I am a different person than I was that morning 3 years ago. And then Francesco Mariaccio. 3 years ago today, he says, I was lonely, closed, can't read what that says, closed off, houseworking, don't have enough time is what I repeated to myself. I had no energy. And even if I worked hard, I didn't accomplish anything. He says, now, 3 years later, I feel productive. I feel successful and I feel in my best shape. I wake up every day with a smile on my face and the motivation to get things done, never slip my habits, and even managing to spend valuable time with family and friends. I can't enjoy my life more. Miracle Morning is a real miracle. I can't stop repeating it. I don't know about you, that fills my heart with joy. Like, that is incredible. And again, I didn't do that. No one did that for Francesco or Eric or Lisa, right? They did that for themselves. The Miracle Morning might have been the vehicle, might have been the tool, might have been the resource, but they did that for themselves. And by the way, I couldn't have done any of this without Stephanie Blackbird. She is the Miracle Morning community manager. Most of you may see her accountability posts in the group. You may not. She's behind the scenes. She's the one, you guys, we have thousands of people requesting every week to join the group. And because of bots, a lot of them are not real accounts or they're spammers. So Stephanie, like she has one of the hardest jobs in the Miracle Morning team in having to go through and investigate and vet every single person. Oh, wow. We have comments on the screen. This is so cool. All right. So Stephanie Blackbird, I love you. You are amazing. And Stephanie's actually getting a promotion going into 2023, and she'll be even more involved in the Miracle Morning. And by the way, to nurture the Miracle Morning community, I launched the Achieve Your Goals podcast. If you listen to the Achieve Your Goals podcast, type AYG in the comments. I'm just curious. I want to see this. Okay. Beryl Dweller says, we love Stephanie. Yes, I agree. Type AYG in the comments if you listen to the Achieve Your Goals podcast. But I launched that podcast just to serve the community. I launched it right after the book launched. It's been 9 years of hosting that podcast every single week. And when I got sick with cancer, my good friend John Berghoff, who I also don't have a slide for, he deserves a slide as well, he took over. He said, Hal, do you need me to host the podcast for you so you can focus on your healing? And I said, thank God, John. I didn't know how I was going to host it. I'm going to be in the hospital fighting cancer, getting chemotherapy. And so John hosted the podcast every single week. Look at this, AYG, AYG, AYG. Thank you all for listening to the podcast, because I'll tell you, that is a lonely endeavor, right? Nobody's here. I don't have a live audience. I don't know if anybody's listening every time I record a podcast episode. I'm so grateful that y'all listen. And then most recently, many of you have been on. We've had hundreds of people every single month. We've been hosting Miracle Morning live events. You may not know this. We call these the Miracle Morning Community Elevating Consciousness Experience. And you'll see our first one was August 31st, how to empower yourself to continue using your Miracle Morning as a force for good in your life. October 26th was how to stay motivated and be consistent in the midst of fear and uncertainty. September 28th, you can see all the different topics. And if you haven't been on one of these, they're incredible. It's a 2-hour experience. What's different about those than what we're doing today is those are interactive. Those you'll learn from me, and then you get to break out into a room and you get to connect and activate the learning with each other and talk to each other, members of the community, about how what you learned, how you're going to apply it. And we do a dance party, and Lucy Osborne, who's actually going to be here in about 45 minutes or so, and this is a surprise, she's going to lead us through a live guided savers. She is incredible. In fact, she does that every single month on the live events. And she's going to do it for you today in about 45 minutes. She's going to lead you through a live saver. So super excited. And you see the URL at the bottom if you want to join these, and they're totally free. There's nothing that we're selling. It literally is just a way to nurture and serve and connect the community. The podcast was one way to nurture the community, but it's it's me and you. That's it. Oh, there, careful. It's me and you. This is you and the community connecting with each other. So you can see the URL at the bottom. Go to miraclemorning.com/gathering if you want to sign up and join us for the December 28th event, which is going to be all about how to take your success to the next level in 2023 and beyond. Also, the Miracle Morning Clubhouse Room. If you don't know about this, Brianna Greenspan started the Miracle Morning Clubhouse Room about a year ago, and she has impacted over 400,000 unique listeners. She runs the room 7 days a week, and she hasn't missed a day in like a year and a half, every single day. Brianna Greenspan, that you met at the beginning of today's episode, Brianna led that group, or leads that room. Oh, in fact, I want to bring Brianna on to ask her a few questions. Oh, Brianna, you're on. Let me change the view. Bree, are you there? I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Friend, I love how you're sharing the evolution of the Miracle Morning. This is so cool to like relive this and remember all the steps that you took and the incredible faith you had the whole time.
So Bree, you're so special to me. You've become one of my best friends, first and foremost. You are arguably have been the biggest advocate of the Miracle Morning over the last, no, not 10 years. Like the book published 10 years ago, but I told you about this 14 years ago, maybe 15, right? And you came, in fact, talk for just a minute about how you received my coaching, because I was your coach, to start waking up earlier and doing a Miracle Morning. How did you receive that?
I love that question. Back when we met, I had just relearned to walk again. I grew up with a lot of health challenges. And so when you said, hey, I want you to wake up earlier than you already do and start doing things to support your well-being, I literally couldn't even fathom it. Like, I thought that was such a crazy concept. And you immediately started to like pull at my limiting beliefs and say things like, what if you changed the way you showed up to your life and you changed the results that you got? And that was such an impactful moment, because that was the first time I said yes to something that was outside of my comfort zone, that had a possibility of making a big difference that I didn't see before. And so you were the catalyst for me starting a Miracle Morning back in 2008. I have been the strongest version of myself year after year because of it. And it was all because you were such a great salesman and saying, hey, like limiting beliefs come up, but how do you show up to them? Are you someone that just sits in your limiting beliefs and says no to all the goodness that's constantly like showing up for you? Or are you someone that says, you know, despite my limiting beliefs, I'm going to say yes to my potential?
Beautiful. Can you share what is your best Miracle Morning tip? Again, you co-authored the Miracle Morning. Oh, you can't see it right now. The Art of Affirmations coloring book. Do you have a copy? Awesome. Speaking of that, well, I'll get to that in a sec. There's something I wanted to show everybody. You lead the Clubhouse Room. You have and we're going to get to this in a second. I'm going to get to a slide, but you have personally reached over 200 schools. You have gotten the Miracle Morning in over 200 schools in the state of New York, actually New York City. So you have more experience sharing the Miracle Morning than anyone does. And doing the Miracle Morning for longer than anybody else has, except for me. So here's my first question, is what's your best Miracle Morning tip for someone to up-level their Miracle Morning?
So first of all, I will say that there's a distinction between up-leveling your current practice and starting a practice. So I'll take it a step back for a moment and say, for anyone who's starting a practice, start small. Like, set small goals. I mentioned before, I grew up with a chronic illness. I don't know how I'm going to feel every morning. And as a result, if I had said, Hal, I'm going to do what you do, and I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and I'm going to pour into myself for an hour or more, I probably would have missed some days, or a lot of days. I probably might have even said, you know what, this isn't for me. I can't keep up with him. But instead, my number one tip for myself was, I said, it's a non-negotiable to pour in to myself when I wake up, no matter what. And every day it looks a little bit different. I don't actually do the savers in the savers order every day. Some days I do. but it depends on how I feel. And that's something I think everybody should really recognize. Your miracle morning today may look different than your miracle morning tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. But also, to make it your own, there are certain days, like today, my reading was so much longer than my affirmations because I was so engrossed in what I was reading. I loved it. Yet tomorrow, my affirmations or visualization, because I have a big day, might be a lot longer than my reading. And so just to be aware that setting the bar low is actually a gift and a blessing because it keeps momentum going. And if you want to up level your miracle morning, that's a whole nother conversation. I use the miracle morning Fast Start Challenge, which is a free resource that literally they talk about in the book that everyone has access to. And within it, there's a wheel of life activity. And so I constantly will reevaluate what's an area of my life that I need support in. And then I focus my savers on that area. So if you are starting with your miracle morning, start small, build upon it. Set small goals. If you are wanting to up level your miracle morning, utilizing, what is necessary for you to get to the next level, utilizing your reflection time to say, oh, as I'm reflecting, I realize my family isn't a priority in the ways I want. Okay, how can my miracle morning best support me supporting my family more? These are questions that we can only answer ourselves.
Awesome. Bree, I could talk to you for a long, long, long time. I know how much wisdom you have, but thank you. And I've told you this probably a lot of times, but thank you for not just your helping to spread the Miracle Morning mission around the world because you genuinely believe in it because it impacted your life, but thank you for supporting me during my cancer journey. Thank you for being a great friend. Thank you. I love you.
Love you. Thanks for all you do.
All right. And if you guys want to hear more from Brianna, join the Clubhouse room. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, it's an app you can get on your phone. Might only be for the iPhone. I'm not sure. Yeah. All right. Let's keep it going. All right. This is exciting. Y'all, the Miracle Morning movie. We started filming this in May of 2014. In November 2016, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I called our director, Nick Conadera. I said, Nick, the movie's going, it's got to be on hold. I'm fighting for my life. I have a 20 to 30% chance, according to doctors, of surviving, and I have to focus on this. And Nick said, Hal, you're going to beat this cancer, and I don't think we should put the movie on hold. I think this is the movie. I said, what do you mean? He said, I want to come film you in your mindset and beating cancer so we can inspire millions of people, not just to wake up early, but to beat cancer or overcome whatever challenge they're facing. And I said, let me ask Ursula, my wife, about that, right? I don't know if she's going to be cool with you coming to the hospital and filming me. And Ursula was supportive. She always is. She's the greatest wife I could ever hope for. And Nick, thank God he filmed the journey. If you've seen the movie, the first 60 minutes is, about the Miracle Morning. And then it takes a really dramatic turn when I'm in the hospital, don't know what's wrong with me. And the last 30 minutes are me fighting for my life. And we debuted, it took us 6 years. Like, think about that, 6 years to film the Miracle Morning movie. And I couldn't have done it without people on the next slide, but look at that picture, that poster, right? Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, Brendan Burchard, Robin Sharma, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Mel Robbins, Lewis Howes, Vision Lakiani, Pat Flynn, JP Sears, Dave Asprey, Marcy Shimoff, Preston Smiles, Joe Polish, Dr. Sean Stevenson, may he rest in peace, and Juliana Ray. Them and so many more dedicated or gave their time to share their best practices to make the Miracle Morning movie what it was. And I really couldn't have done it without these two people, Nick Conadera, the director and the visionary behind the Miracle Morning, and Teresa Larico, the executive producer. Nick and Teresa, if you're watching this, I love you. Nick was actually at my house 2 days ago filming some scenes. We're actually making a couple of changes to the Miracle Morning movie, and you'll find out why in a few minutes. As I mentioned, I was diagnosed with cancer in November 2016, given a 20 to 30% survival rate. And I just want to share one lesson about that. We are often, we are conditioned to value the opinions of and I'm going to use air quotes here, experts. And I'll use, for example, if somebody goes to school and they get a PhD in anything, they are considered an expert. But if you think about it, that person, and not to take anything away from their expertise, but they have an expertise in whatever they studied. And when my doctor, who's an expert in his particular type of medicine, told me there was a 20 to 30% chance of surviving, I went, okay, well, that's if I do only what you tell me to do, only what traditional medicine tells me to do. And I thought, I'm going to do everything in my power to go outside the traditional box and research and figure out what are the best, not just traditional Western medicine practices, what are the best holistic practices available that even through anecdotal evidence that this person was able to beat cancer using this particular regimen. This person was able to beat it using this particular regimen. And I consumed as much knowledge and information as I possibly could. And I learned, and this is what I told my wife the day that I was diagnosed with cancer. And you can see her pictured there with me. And there's my dad taking care of me. I couldn't have done it without them for sure. But my wife was terrified that she was going to lose me. And yes, I was scared, but I said, sweetheart, I live by this thing called the miracle equation. And I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I will survive. And I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort and do everything in my power to beat cancer. And I have unwavering faith that I will beat cancer. I said, I know the doctors say there's a 20 to 30% survival rate. And I want you to really hear this, and I want you to apply this to your own life. The experts will tell you one thing. Only you are an expert in you. And only I was an expert in me. And I said, sweetheart, I know you're scared because the doctors say there's only a 20 to 30% chance that I'm going to survive. But in my mind, there's a 100% chance that I will be among the 20 to 30% of those who beat this cancer, who survive. And so I want you to realize that only you are an expert in you. You, as a human being, don't listen to any expert or anyone else put a limitation on what's possible for you. Think about that. Other people, based on their opinions, based on their experience, based on their limited expertise, they will tell you that you can or can't do something. And I just want you to really be empowered to realize that you can overcome and accomplish anything that you commit to maintain unwavering faith and putting forth extraordinary effort. There's nothing that you can't overcome and nothing that you can't accomplish. It's up to you. You are an expert in you. And so I want you to apply that, because I know the last 2 years or 3 years, I don't even know how long it's been. They've been crazy. They've been chaotic. And I know so many of us are struggling mentally, emotionally, financially, relationally, right? It's been a really difficult 3 years. And if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me talk about when we focus on things that are out of our control, whether that's a pandemic or the government or our family, literally even other people. No other human being is in your control. And if you're allowing other people and their actions or their words to determine how you feel inside, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that anymore. When we focus on that which is out of our control, we feel out of control. And that causes us to experience anxiety and depression and fear. And those aren't healthy for us. The only thing that you can control is you. How you show up every single day. And that's what I love about the Miracle Morning, is it is your opportunity. Every day it gives you space to decide with intention, with clarity, with total self-responsibility. This is who I'm committed to being today. And nothing anyone else says or does can change that. Period. You get to decide every single morning. And so I want to remind you of that you don't have to let any circumstances or anything outside of you determine how you experience every moment of your life, even in the midst of fear and uncertainty and chaos and even pain. When I was in the hospital fighting cancer and I was in pain, I still chose to make every moment the best moment of my life. Not because of how it compared to other moments, but because it was the only moment I was experiencing in that moment. And you have the ability to choose to see and experience every moment of your life as the best moment of your life. And no one and nothing can take that away from you unless you allow them to. So own that you get to choose your experience of life. All right, so if you look at the screen, millions of people are transforming their lives. We have over 3 million books sold, over 50,000 five-star ratings. And this sounds kind of like a brag, but I don't mean it that way. I'm just giving you a picture of the Miracle Morning movement. 500,000 followers on social media, and of course, 330,000 Facebook community members. And I couldn't have done any of this without a very special person in my life. And you are looking at her on the screen in different, I went through so many pictures of me and Tiffany. Tiffany Hammond, if you don't know who Tiffany is, she's probably the most behind the scenes person. And I couldn't have done this without her at all. She's been with me since the first year in 2013. I'll tell you the story. My wife and I were at my favorite restaurant in Temecula, California, near San Diego. It was called Yard House. Now, that was before I was healthy. Anyway, no offense, Yard House, but I don't eat there anymore. So she was our server, and she come checking on us, and I told my wife after a few times that we interacted with her, I said, Ursula, my wife was a server back in college. I said, is it just me, or is she one of the most, like, the sweetest, most engaged, most thoughtful, servers that I've ever had? And Ursula goes, no, she's really good. She's really good. And I said, God, I need somebody like that on my team. And thank God for my wife, because I'm oblivious. I miss all the obvious things. Delynn Cooley says, I love Tiffany. Delynn, I love you, Delynn. You are one of the most dedicated Miracle Morning practitioners. Sorry for the tangent. But Delyn's been to all of our live events. She's on all of our monthly virtual events that I talked about earlier. She is one of the most dedicated members of our community. So Delynn, I'm glad I saw your comment. I love you. Angela, thank you for the sweet words as well. But so my wife goes, why don't you ask her if she would be open to, a second job or working for you in some capacity? And I was like, great idea. So Tiffany comes back to check on us. And I said, hey, I know we just met, but I said, are you open to any other kind of work? I need a personal assistant and you are amazing. And she said, actually, I need an internship. So maybe we could do that. So she did a 3-month internship with me. I then hired her as my executive assistant. She's been with me for 9 years, and now she also just got a promotion, and she is officially the Chief Operations Officer, the COO of the Miracle Morning. And when I had cancer, by the way, I didn't mean to get all emotional on this call, but Tiffany, literally, she just stepped up and basically became the CEO. She just took over for me. She said, Hal, you focus on healing. I'll handle everything. And everything went through Tiffany, and she checked in with me maybe once a week, said, hey, I got a few questions. I don't know how to answer. Can you help? And she was there for me, and she babysits my kids. She's a member of our family. I love you, Tiffany. All right, keep going. And I wanted to just mention, I couldn't go on without mentioning my family. My wife, Ursula, she has been the most supportive, incredible wife I could ever hope for. And I couldn't have done any of this without her. My daughter, Sophia, my son, Halston. Halston, by the way, he loves YouTube. And he begged me and my wife to stay home from school today so he could be on a live stream, so he could share it with his friends that he was on a YouTube live stream. I was okay with it. My wife thought he needed to go to school. So, all right. We launched, this next slide is the Miracle Morning app. And I know many of you probably are Miracle Morning app users. You can see the URL at the bottom. You can find it in the App Store or the Google Play Store. This was on what I call my disgrace list. One of my mentors, he had this thing called a disgrace list. When I was like 21 years old, I was his assistant. And he said, Hal, I keep a disgrace list. It's all of the things that I know I could do and I know I should do and I really want to do, but for one reason or another, I'm not doing them. So I call it my disgrace list. And it's like the one day I'm going to get to it. Having a Miracle Morning app was the highest on my disgrace list. Like I knew we needed it. The community needed it. Here was the problem. I wanted it to, I was all or nothing. It was like, it was either going to be the ultimate Miracle Morning app that had guided meditation and a creator for your affirmations and visualization tools and like an exercise component and audiobooks and it had to have everything. It had to have timers and trackers and track all of it. And Josh Eidenberg, who I'll tell you more about in a second, for years, Josh, who is Brianna's fiance, Josh has been you said, Hal, we need an app. I said, I know, Josh, but I can't afford it. It's gonna be like $150,000 to create this app that I want. And I don't have that money to do that. And he said, what if we start with a basic version and then we reinvest the funds and create the ultimate app for you? I said, okay, let's do it. So finally, in January of this year, we launched the version that you see on the screen. You can track your savers. You can do 30-day challenges. You can set timers for your savers. There's a journal feature where you can journal in the app with prompts. You can create your own affirmations, a bunch more features. We launched in January, and we've spent the last year building the dream version of my app. And we'll get to that a little bit later today. But I could not have done this without Josh Eidenberg and the app development team. Josh is one of the most positive people you've ever met in your life. Josh, I love you. You're like family to me, you and Bree both. And I'm just so grateful that you finally brought this app. Deanna says, Josh is awesome. Hal keeps good company. I will say this, by the way, every single person on my team, except Tiffany maybe, because she started before the Miracle Morning was a thing, but every person on my team, Stephanie, Honore, you name it, everyone, Brianna, they were Miracle Morning practitioners first. And that's like the first box that people have to check. I won't just hire someone because they're great at what they do. They have to believe in the mission. They have to know experientially how the Miracle Morning can transform someone's life because it's transformed theirs before I bring them onto the team. All right. This is me last month in the UK. It was a really cool moment. I always ask the audience, how many of you have read the Miracle Morning? So I have an idea of how many people are brand new and how many have already read the book. And it's usually about 30%, maybe 40%. Every hand in the audience went up. And I was like, what? How has every person read the book? And then after the CEO came up and said, yeah, it's required reading for Arbonne UK. I went, oh, and then of course the light bulb, wait a minute. Why is it not required reading for every company? So that's part of the 10-year vision. We'll have to get that figured out. I was very honored. I got to be on the Today Show to share the Miracle Morning, and the Miracle Morning has been featured in Cosmopolitan, Forbes, E! News. Here's what's crazy: all these publications. These are people that are doing the Miracle Morning and sharing it. I don't have a publicist that has got. Actually, Today's Show was our publicist from Celeste, but everything else, all these other articles and stuff, are just writers that are discovering the practice and implementing it. All right. The Miracle Morning mission. If you look at the screen, and I just realized you're all watching the screen. I don't know why I keep saying that. It's to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. This is becoming more and more and more important. And to me, that's Miracle Morning 2.0, really. It's the reason why you're doing it. And I'm working on, some of you may know this if you listen to the podcast, but I'm working on the Miracle Morning updated and expanded edition right now. My original goal is to publish it today. We're probably 6 months off from that happening. But it's going to have a chapter called The Miracle Evening, and it's going to have a chapter called The Miracle Life, which is the next book that I'm going to write. And The Miracle Life is how you actually elevate your consciousness. And I want to answer this question. What does it mean to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time? What does elevating consciousness mean? I'm going to share with you. Most of us all want to be happy, right? We all want to be happy. But if all we're focusing on is doing things that will make us happy, we often confuse that with pleasure. Like, why do you turn on Netflix? Because you think, oh, watching the show will make me happy. It'll make me feel good, right? Why do you buy something off Amazon? Because you think, oh, it'll make me happy. But how short-lived are those bursts of pleasure, right? The show's over and, now you're focused on life again. You buy your product, you get it in the mail, you're excited, and then now you're back to life. What I'm talking about is using your Miracle Morning to elevate your consciousness not chase short-lived emotional highs. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. Peace is a state of consciousness. You can call it inner peace if you want. Peace is a state of consciousness. When you establish an unwavering state of inner peace, then things that are disturbing, they might throw you off for a few minutes, but you fall back into your state of consciousness. Whereas if you live in a state of consciousness of guilt or shame or fear, then those short-lived emotional highs, as soon as they're done, you fall back into your state of fear or insecurity or inadequacy. My mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity is helping you. And that's what we did last month, by the way. Last month's community event was on how to elevate your consciousness, which is what I'm kind of talking about today. But I want you to jot that down, that the purpose of the Miracle Morning is to elevate my consciousness. And I'll be talking more and more about this on the podcast, but here's the simple way of understanding what that means. When you become aware of a higher state of consciousness, for example, what I just shared with you, that establishing a state of inner peace allows you to be at peace no matter what's going on around you. By simply becoming aware of that, writing it down, reading it in your Miracle Morning, asking the question, how can I be at peace today? And integrating that into your affirmations, into your meditation, into all of the practices of the Miracle Morning, into your journaling. What do I need to let go of to be at peace? By simply being aware that that state of consciousness is available to you, you have elevated your consciousness. You're not going to be perfect at it, but if every day you continue to affirm being in a state of peace, you continue to meditate in a state of peace, you're literally conditioning your nervous system, you're rewiring your brain to experience that elevated state of consciousness more often and more easily over and over and over and over again. And if we all do that, and we live in a state of consciousness that is peace and love and joy and compassion, humanity is going to be different. And that is the vision of the Miracle Morning. We're doing this right now. If you look at the Miracle Morning in schools, I was going to say look at the slide. I keep forgetting you're looking at the slides. Brianna Greenspan one day was leading the clubhouse room, and a principal, Anisha Jacko, stepped up and said, we are doing the Miracle Morning in our school. We have been doing it for 3 months. Before we started the Miracle Morning, we were either the worst or one of the worst schools for detentions and suspensions. She said, since we rolled out the Miracle Morning in our classrooms, and she does it over the loudspeaker, a 6-minute version every day, she said they've had 0. I wouldn't have believed that unless I actually met Anisha, went to her school with Brianna last month, and met all the students, watched them coloring in their books, saw these pictures of how they hang up their Miracle Morning affirmations all over the room. They went down to 0 detentions and suspensions. And if you look at the slide, you'll see the schools that are doing the Miracle Morning. There's over 200 in the state of New York, and we're just getting started. Reduction in educator burnout for the teachers that are doing it. Reduction in reports of bullying, higher self-esteem, less suspensions, calmer testing environment. In 2016, I wrote a 10-year vision for the Miracle Morning. And the 10-year vision was, oh, there's Anisha. Great timing, Anisha. So the principal, I'm going to bring the principal on here in just a sec that I just told you about. Where was I at with that? Anisha, I love you threw me off. 2016, I wrote my 10-year vision for the Miracle Morning. So that was 6 years ago. And I wrote down one of my aspects of the vision is the Miracle Morning is practiced in every school in the world. Actually, I think I wrote every school in America, right? Let's start where I'm from, in America. By 2026, This is a lesson in manifesting, because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know that Brianna Greenspan was going to start a clubhouse room, and that Anisha Jacko was going to join that clubhouse room, and this was going to start the Miracle Morning in Schools program. But it has. And I truly believe, talking about elevating consciousness, the consciousness of humanity, starting with students. And Anisha, who I'm going to bring on in just a second, she is the principal for elementary school students. And so without further ado, Anisha, it is so great to see you.
It is amazing to see you. How are you?
I'm good. It's been I saw you like a month ago. I was in the office that you're walking through right now.
Yes. And each morning, look what we do.
Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations.
Yes. And so even who's in front of me now is our custodial engineer, who has his Miracle Morning book in his office, right? So it's one of those things where it's part of the culture of our school.
Beautiful.
Here. How are you?
I'm doing well. You might want to stop moving. It's starting to cut out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to just share.
Is this good?
Yeah, in your words, what is the impact? Yeah, that's a great background that you landed on. All of these that your art teacher had students draw their own image. Well, I'll let you share it, but take a minute and just share the impact that the Miracle Morning has made in your school for your teachers and your students.
So for me personally, when I had COVID, as a principal, I was concerned about my own health. What practices was I going to put in place for myself? So my children that I live with would be able to understand that we have right now as a gift to be grateful, practicing the savers. And so what I was able to do by owning the practices was to bring it back to the school. It started with the teachers, and then from the teachers, our students. And so one of the things when we thought about what were we going to do when we brought children back to our school after being at home, our best way was to think about having self-portraits with the affirmations so students can see themselves when they come inside the building. And so when you see, I am creating the life of my dreams, or the greatest gift I can give to others is to fulfill my potential, right? Students see themselves, but then also have the affirmation, and we practice the savers with the silence and affirmation, visualizing what we want for the day and for our year, exercising, reading, and scribing every day. And so change the climate, because it's now part of what we do. This is our practice.
Anisha, Jessica Gooding says, this gives me chills. And it gives me chills too. Meeting you, I mean, Brianna has talked about you for many, many, many months and sang your praises. Her words, as eloquent as they were, they didn't do it justice. Like, you are a force to be reckoned with in the most positive, beautiful, inspiring way. When I came to your school and I heard you talk to the students, and then I saw you speak at the event and to the teacher, I mean, it's incredible. And again, it is people like you. It is you that are elevating consciousness. Like, this is such a community effort. We're all doing it together. So Anisha, I love you. I am so grateful for you. And thank you for the impact you're making for those students, for their families, and for your teachers.
Thank you so much. And thank you for giving us the permission to do this great work. I was a student when growing up. I didn't feel like people could see me or hear me. I felt invisible in school. And so writing Audacity to Speak for me was a way of showing my kids too that I could do hard things, right? And what if we all at 7 and 8 believed that? Yeah. We would be different. Yeah. We would have a different world. And so it took us. One single yes is now in multiple schools across the city. In New York City, the largest school system in the world. And so you are a part of that legacy. And thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Anisha.
you, Bree. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you for everything. And I can't wait to come visit you again in New York.
Yay. Thank you, my dear.
Bye. All right, y'all. Oh, sweetie, you got to come give me a kiss at some point. My wife just walked in. You guys got to meet my wife if you haven't met her. Oh, she's going to give me a kiss now. Watch, you guys. Oh. She's amazing. My wife for life. All right, so I'm going to have her on the podcast, y'all, soon. You've been asking to have her on the podcast, and she's like, she's nervous. But anyway, all right, so this is the 10-year vision, and this is just a small part of it. This is really a small part of it, but I mentioned we're going to release the long-awaited book, The Miracle Morning Updated and Expanded Edition. What makes it different? Not only is the book different, it has new content. By the way, I've rewritten the entire book. Literally, I've spent the last 6 months going line by line and making it better, right? The chapters are the same. The essence is the same, but it is a better book written 10 years after I've, hopefully elevated my consciousness a little bit. But what makes it really different is it's going to be in Target and Walmart and Costco and every bookstore in the world so that we can really reach people that have never, ever heard of the Miracle Morning. Number 2 is Savers practice in every school in the world, right? We're starting here in America. We started in New York City. And my goal is by 2026 that we're in every school in America. And then beyond that, spreading it out to the world. We've changed about 3-4 million lives, but I had a friend of mine always says, Hal, I think it's Brianna actually that says, Hal, you can't measure how many lives you've changed because every mom that's read The Miracle Morning is a better mom for their family. And now you're impacting their kids' lives, even though the kids don't even know what the Miracle Morning is. Or every dad, every CEO, it's affecting their entire organization. Anisha, for example, right? The principal, it's affecting her entire school. And then she is now helping to spread it to hundreds of other schools. So my mission is to transform 1 billion lives on the way to 8 billion. And then last but not least, the mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. And now we are diving into part 2, 3 exciting announcements. And by the way, we are probably about 10, 15 minutes away from Lucy Osborne joining us for a live Savers. And I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this. Every time we do the live monthly Miracle Morning experience, this is one of everyone's highlights. It's not what I talk about. It's what they get to experience with Lucy. She's going to lead you through a guided saver. She's incredible. 3 exciting announcements. There's only going to be 2, but here's a third one. The next book, the first announcement is the next book in the series, The Miracle Morning for Seniors, is coming out next year. Now, the way this came about, call it the law of attraction, but you see the co-author on the book cover there, Dwayne J. Clark. Dwayne J. Clark is the founder of Aegis Living, which is one of, if not the largest senior living facilities in America. He impacts tens of thousands of seniors every day through the work. And he did that because he saw how his mother was treated in a nursing home years ago. And he said, this has to change. He is passionate about helping seniors. He's written multiple books to help seniors. And so he and I have partnered on this book that will be out later this year. Sandra says, oh my gosh, as a senior, it's for me. Oh, you guys can see the screen too. All right. So that's the bonus announcement. Number 2, this is exciting. This has been talked about for a long time. The Miracle Morning movie is now free. You've been able to, rent it or buy it on Amazon Prime or iTunes or Vimeo or whatever. We've been talking for a long time about making this free because this is the way to share the Miracle Morning with everyone you know, right? There's a lot of folks that are like, and I'm not going to buy the book, or I'm not a big reader. I don't read self-help books. That's why we made the movie in the first place. If you don't know that story, Nick Conadera called me one day. He had been telling me to make a Miracle Morning documentary for years. And I just kept saying, I'm too busy. Like, I can't even think about it. And he called me one day and he figured out how to convince me. He said, Hal, the Miracle Morning, he said, what's your mission? I said, it's to, elevate the consciousness of humanity one person, one morning at a time. He said, what percentage of humanity reads self-help books? And I started to get where he was going. I said, less than 5%, probably 1%, but let's say less than 5%. And he said, what percentage of humanity watches movies? I said, the other 95%, right? Give or take, obviously not everyone. And he said, so if you want to reach humanity, don't you need to put the Miracle Morning in a form that everyone can quickly and easily consume? And I said, it looks like we're making a movie. And it took us, again, 6 years to film the movie, and me going through cancer, and so much went into that film. But it's the easiest way to share it with other people. And if you go now to miraclemorningmovie.com, the movie is free. And underneath it, there's share buttons. You can share it on Facebook or Twitter, or I don't know where else, Instagram, wherever else. You can share the movie with anyone you want. There's no string attached. There's no money. Like, it doesn't cost anything. It's completely free now. So we can share the Miracle Morning. And then, of course, you know, if they watch the movie and they're inspired, like, okay, I want to read the book. Like, I want to go deeper, but they might not even need the book. They could watch the movie. They're going to learn the savers, and they could literally wake up the next morning and start doing the Miracle Morning. And the third announcement, actually, before we get to the third announcement, I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer. I want to bring one more person onto the live stream. I want to ask him about his Miracle Morning. He's been a dedicated Miracle Morning practitioner since 2012. He was on the Miracle Morning book launch team. Many of you don't know that. Before the book launched, I reached out to our community because the Facebook group was live, and I said, hey, I invited people to be part of the Miracle Morning book launch team. Brianna Greenspan was on that team, and Conrad Diaz was on that team. Conrad, brother, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Hal. Excited to be here. Like, this is, like Brianna said, it is just cool to see the journey recapped.
So I want to ask you, how did you hear about the Miracle Morning? How did you hear about it?
So Josh Shipp, I was on Josh Shipp's email list, and he emailed about, he said, my buddy Hal is releasing a book. You should check it out. And yeah, I went to check it out. And that was probably October or November 2012.
Beautiful, man. So right before it came out. I love Josh too. And just another example of, you know, of people helping each other. So what are some specific ways that it's impacted your life? Like, you've been doing it for, obviously, you know, since almost the beginning. Right when the book came out, what are some of the ways specifically it's impacted your life?
So, I mean, literally, it's been in every area of my life. I would say the common thread is really just the affirmations, the stories I'm telling myself, the things, the thoughts that I have. Like, now they become automatic thoughts that I can turn any adversity into an advantage, as long as I learn how I can add value to other people from it. To do what's right, not what's easy. My kids say these things now. It's been years for them too, because you know they're younger. But you know, they say do what's right, not what's easy. They know that who I'm becoming is more important than what I'm doing. Yet what I'm doing is determining who I'm becoming. And these are all things that I really learned from the Miracle Morning and the coaching back in the day, and just in you. So
yeah, beautiful, man. And I love that you're sharing it with your kids. What's your best Miracle Morning pro tip? Like, what would, you know, as someone that's been doing it for almost a decade, right around actually a decade. Yeah. What's your best Miracle Morning tip for everybody watching?
Really, I think, well, it's about starting your day on purpose, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist, right? But be intentional about it. And if you can attach a goal to your Miracle Morning, I think that, you know, the Miracle Morning has helped me write books, has helped me launch different things, has helped me elevate my career. And most of all, like I said, really just what you guys have been talking about all day, elevating my consciousness. Oddly enough, I wouldn't have put it in those words, but that's literally what has happened over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I love that you say it that way, like, because that is what's happening, even though we're not aware of it. You know, when I renamed the Miracle Morning mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity, I didn't even realize that's already what we're doing. You know, or I guess I did realize it kind of, but realizing, yeah, everyone watching, if you do a Miracle Morning, you're elevating your consciousness every day. You're becoming more aware of how your thoughts, words, and actions impact you and others. In fact, if you want to write down a definition of elevating consciousness, it's becoming more aware of how your thoughts, words, and actions impact you and others. That's it. As you do your miracle morning, you become more aware, like Conrad said, naming some of those phrases, those quotes, those philosophies that he shares with his kids, because he became more aware that, who I am as a result of where I was, but where I go is up to me. And then you get to make different decisions, different choices through that elevated state of consciousness. Conrad, I love that. Last thing I want to ask you is, I know you share Miracle Morning with other people, right? Which is so beautiful that so many people share it. How have you shared it with others?
So I bought the book for people from Amazon, just ship it to them directly from Amazon. I've done, led like book discussions and kind of groups, kind of accountability groups and stuff like that, because I think there's just when you actually get to discuss it with people, even more than in the Facebook group, when you get to actually discuss it live with people, kind of like what we're doing live with the new monthly calls. It just makes a difference. It helps you take your practice to another level.
Beautiful, brother. Well, thank you for being such a dedicated member of the Miracle Morning community, Conrad. I love you, brother. And thank you for being here today to be part of this.
Thank you, man. Love you too, bro.
All right, man. See you next time. All right, y'all. We're going to get to announcement number 3, and then we're going to lead you through a guided savers. I think Lucy Osborne will be ready to go here in the next few minutes. But before I bring Lucy on, I want to share you something that Lucy's been a part of. Announcement number 3 is there is a new premium app experience. I mentioned at the beginning, early on, that my dream was for the ultimate Miracle Morning app that would guide people through their savers. So you could literally just push play and be guided through your silence and your affirmations and your visualization. Then you got to stand up and do your exercise, and then guided through your reading and guided through your scribing. And Josh Eidenberg, who I mentioned earlier, Josh and I have been working on this for a year, and our app development team. And today is the first day. I know most of you have the Miracle Morning free version of the app. There is now a premium upgrade that is available within the app. So if you don't have the app, you can get it in the App Store or the Google Play Store. But if you do have it, you can just update your app, and you'll start to see that the tracks are now, this is an option for you to access the tracks, and you can start a 7-day trial today. So you can click any of the tracks and start a 7-day trial today. There's over 100 guided savers. Lucy Osborne, who you're about to experience live, she's been doing this. She's been recording tracks every single month, almost this entire year, because we wanted this to launch with a whole library for you to choose from. You just push play, and literally you can complete 1, 2, 3, 4, or all 6 of your savers. And there's new features like a calendar view, all sorts of stuff. And again, you can get a 7-day trial. And I don't see Lucy here yet, but if you watch, here we go. If you watch the video, there's no audio here, but this gives you, you can see inside. This is a little sneak peek, a preview of the track. Savers 101, there's the library. And you can choose, there's visualization tracks and meditation tracks on how to be more confident. There's videos, how to make more money. There's customizable timers. There's so many features now in the app, and specifically with the Lucy Osborne guided tracks. You just push play and you can complete your entire Miracle Morning. And there's a 7-day masterclass that I recorded on video that is also now in the app. And I think we're about a minute away from Lucy coming. But Josh, I'd love to bring you on, brother, just to share your Miracle Morning. And you are truly of service. You always talk about the Miracle Morning, the impact that you believe this app can make for people. I just want to hear from you in your own words. I also want the community to hear your voice and see your face, because you're such an important part of the Miracle Morning movement. But what, from your perspective, this app, this release today, like, what is this, from your perspective, what is this going to do for people?
This is taking the Miracle Morning to the next level. Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Eidenberg. Hal and I have been talking about making a Miracle Morning app ever since I started doing the Miracle Morning. As an app developer, I always wanted to help the Miracle Morning have an app that I wanted to have every day, that could literally help me uplift my day, pour more love and light into myself, and really help me navigate through my morning routine without having to jump from app to app to app to app. And this is so exciting, because what I think you guys are about to see when you guys check out the new version, and you could sign up for a 7-day free trial, you're going to see that it's not like any other app. Some of you might use Calm or Headspace or any of these apps. We're doing something completely different, in the sense that we're taking silence, affirmations, visualization, we're combining it all into one track. We have some tracks that combine all the savers. You simply wake up in the morning, you press play, and within under 10 minutes, you can feel energized, you can feel motivated for the day, you can feel inspired, you can feel uplifted, you can feel like you're just ready for the day. And we wanted to create something that really allows you to take your miracle morning to the next level. For those of you that already have a miracle morning practice, this will complement that. And we have tracks that while you're exercising, you could play affirmations while you're on the treadmill, while you're on a run, while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing in the morning. The app is a companion to support you. For those that don't quite understand what the miracle morning is, this will guide you. We have tutorials, we have Hal 7-day masterclass. We have so many different ways that you can experience the app. I think there's 140 tracks. We're going to be releasing new tracks every week. And what's really cool is there's probably about 1,000 different ways to do the miracle morning in this new subscription. 1,000 different ways to do the miracle morning. And we're going to be working really hard to make it fun, make it exciting. We got a lot of new features. We got some community features that we're going to be bringing to it. We're going to have some live miracle morning practices coming into the app in 2023. There's some additional accountability features that are going to be coming. And I cannot wait for you guys to experience Lucy Osborne, who's going to be coming on very soon, so you can get a taste of what this app is all about and how it can really help uplift your life, and also provide you a tool that goes along with the movie for you to share with your friends and family. Because I'm sure all of you here on this live stream really want the people around you, the people that you love, the people that you work with, the people that you lead, to all have a miracle morning practice and to all live in an elevated way. And the app is designed to do that. The movie is designed to help you inspire other people. We wanted to give it to you as a gift. And we're just so excited. You guys can tell that I'm just like really excited. This has been many years in the making. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I used my miracle morning practice to live the life of my dreams, which was creating the Miracle Morning app. Right? I visualized creating the Miracle Morning app with Hal. I would scribe about it and write down all these different ideas and the impact that it would make. I would affirm it. I would meditate, and like sometimes it's really hard when I meditate because all these ideas just keep coming up, and then I call Hal and I'm like, Hal, you're not going to believe what came up for the app. Like the Miracle Morning works.
Well, it's funny, Josh, because I wrote the Miracle Morning during my Miracle Morning, and because of my Miracle Morning, and I was affirming that I could write the book, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, so same thing.
I mean, it works. Like I'm a walking example of it. Hal's a walking example of it. Brianna, Anisha, all these kids that are now starting to do the Miracle Morning all over New York State and all over the country and all over the world. Like, we're just so happy that you guys are here. Thanks for your support. We're about to get Lucy Osborne on in just a moment. She'll be with us, and this is really just a celebration of all of us. Like I've been managing the chat and just seeing that how we literally have people from over like 60, 70 countries that are on this live stream right now. Like how cool is that?
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. And y'all, as soon as Lucy, we're gonna have Lucy next. She's joining any minute. And as soon as she is here and leads this. Then we're going to go into part 3, which is Ask Me Anything. And I've got about a dozen. Oh, there's Lucy. You guys are going to love her. She makes me so happy. And then we have part 3. And Josh, thank you, buddy. You jumped off. And then you're going to be able to ask me anything. But right now, I am going to bring up Lucy Osborne, the voice of the Miracle Morning app. Hey, Lucy.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited. This is always my favorite part of the monthly events that we do is when you lead us through this. So I am here as a participant as well.
Oh, good. Well, let's get right into it.
Let's just dive in and then I'll ask you some questions.
Sure. Let's do that.
All right. I'm giving you full screen. Wait, no. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Hold on. All right. Let me remove my.
Okay, thank you so much, Miracle Morning community. I am so excited to be here with you today, to be moving together, to be meditating together, to be reading together, to be writing together. So in the 1 minute before I start, make sure you have something to write with. It can just be a piece of paper and a pen near you. If it has to be your phone and your notes app, that's fine. If for some reason you're driving or you can't get any of that, it's okay. When we do the writing part, you can think it and then use these prompts later in your day for your evening routine or your morning routine when you are writing. Because what we're about to do is we're about to do every single one of the savers here, live, together, and guided. So if you're able, again, if you're not driving or something, if you're able, get yourself into a position where you can tune in, meaning a comfortable place to sit, a place where you can close your eyes. I'm going to put on some music and we are going to get going. So we're doing all of our savers today, beginning with silence. So I would love for you to close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And let wherever you are be the perfect space. Even if you say, oh, I'm at work, or I'm with someone else, or I'm listening in the supermarket, it's okay. Wherever you are is the perfect space. And you can do this at your own level, whether that be full out or just to the best of your ability at this moment. And either way, it's the right way. So let's welcome some silence in. Breathing in through the nose again. Exhaling through the mouth with a smile. Again, inhale. Exhale, smile. Keep breathing like this. Keep smiling like this. And let each breath that enters your body fill your heart. Imagine that it's not just the lungs that are getting filled with this life energy, it's the heart. And so then when you exhale with that smile, that's the love from your heart, coming from the inside world to the outside world. Today is December 12th, 2022. And we're celebrating what's happened in this decade here. I want us to visualize a decade from today. If this is where we are today, where could we be on December 12th, 2032? So staying in this posture with eyes closed, staying in this zone with heart open with breath. Ask yourself, what does December 12th, 2032 look like for me? Visualize it. What am I doing? What have I started in my day and in my life? What have I stopped? What have I released? What have I moved on from and grown out of? And what am I growing into? 10 years from now, see it in your mind's eye. What have I created? Maybe it's something I created for myself. Maybe it's for my nearest and dearest. Maybe it's for the world at large. Let yourself dream big here, visualize big here. You are the number one person that's going to be on your own team. No one else has the power to visualize for you. Only you have the power to start training your mind into the life that you're ready to experience. So go all the way, go level 10. 10 years from now, what impact am I having? So looking around at all the people who you'll serve and who will know you and who will experience the ripple effect of your heart, of your work, of your life. What impact am I having? Ask yourself that question. And who have I become? Through all of this starting and stopping and creating, who have I become in the process? See it. What does it look like? Feel it. What's different? Taste it. Use the senses to bring that future here now. Starting to plant the seeds in the heart, planting the seeds in the body, planting the seeds in the spirit, so that we can harvest it 10 years from now. Take another deep breath in through the nose. Keeping the eyes closed, let that smile come across your face as you exhale. And let your heart be open and your mind be open to receive some wisdom as I read to you excerpts from what else? The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. The reason we're here, the reason we're celebrating. We must realize that the real impact and consequence of each of our choices and actions, and even our thoughts, is monumental. Because every single thought, choice, and action is determining who we are becoming, which will ultimately determine the quality of our lives. Now matters more than any other time in your life. Because it's what you are doing today that is determining who you're becoming, and who you're becoming will always determine the quality and the direction of your life. Where you are is a result of who you were. But where you go depends entirely on who you choose to be from this moment on. You are just as worthy, deserving, and capable of creating and sustaining extraordinary health, wealth, happiness, love, and success in your life as any other person on this earth. So open your eyes, pick up your journal or your paper or your pen or your notes app, and let's scribe together. If all those things are true, or even if I just entertain that they might be and live in that world for this moment, what would I choose? Answer that question. So what do I choose now? Who will I be today? And you can write it in the form of today I am. And fill in that blank. Today I am. Fill in that blank with a thought that you'd like to turn into a belief. Even if you say it and you say, I don't believe that yet, I'm not that yet. Know that a belief is simply a thought that's repeated. So what would you like to start believing about yourself? What would you like to start repeating about yourself? Write it in the present affirmative tense. I am worthy of all the success I dream of. I am calm under pressure and I respond instead of react. I'm living the life of my dreams. Today I am. You start with one sentence. Today I am. And you fill in that blank for yourself. Now we're going to bring that into an embodied state, from paper to body to life. So if you can stand, this can also be done seated. You can do it as big as I do it or as small as feels good to you. But we're gonna move. We're doing our affirmations and exercise together in what is called intensati. So stand up. Start by giving yourself a good shake out. So if anything has crept in, any fear, any doubt, any worry, just go ahead and shake it off. Start with the hands and the wrists, the arms, the neck and hips where so much emotion is stored, knees, feet, hair, if you got it, shake it out. And then come standing feet apart, hands on guard. So on guard means we're getting ready for some punches. You should make a number 11 with your forearms and a triangle with your chin, fist, and fist. Now see if you can hear that beat and move to the beat. If you can't hear it, just do it right along with me. Now show me strong punches. Punch, punch, punch. We're doing 2 moves today. This punch is called strong. So when I say strong, you just punch straight out, right after left. And fully extend those punches. We're not talking this here. We're talking fully extended. If you're able, see if you can get there. These are single punches, starting to get that blood moving, that breath becoming more and more rapid. Are you doing it? Good. We're going to move into a second move. This is strong. We're going to confident. We're going to double up those punches and do 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. You did strong. That was the single punches. Confident is the doubles. 1, 2. So as I'm doing this move, how can I embody the states of strength and confidence, even if it's just a little seedling right now? Looking good, Hal. Double punches. I'm going to take you back to strong. Single punches now. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Doubles, confident. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Strong. We're doing 8 punches of each move. You can either count them out or just follow me. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Strong and confident. Now repeat after me. I'm powerful beyond measure. I am strong in every way. I have limitless potential for a miracle today. I am powerful beyond measure. You say it. I am strong in every way. I have limitless potential for a miracle today. Take it to level 10. I'm powerful beyond measure. Smile, strong in every way. I have limitless potential for a miracle today. I am powerful beyond measure. I am strong in every way. I have limitless potential for a miracle today. One more time. I am powerful beyond measure. I am strong in every way. I have limitless potential for a miracle today. Hands to the heart. You can keep the body moving if you want to cool it down. Tap the toes, step side to side. Hands on the heart. Feel your heart beating a little bit faster than it was 10 minutes ago. Feel that breath a little more awakened and alive than it was 10 minutes ago. And say thank you. Thank you. Thank you to yourself for getting up, doing your silence, your affirmations, your visualization, your exercise, your reading, and your scribing. For putting what you know is true into practice. You've read this book, you've followed this community, and now you are doing it. So on whatever platform you're on, put in the chat how you're feeling right now, how you're feeling after moving your body, saying these affirmations, taking that silent time, visualizing what it could look like 10 years from now, getting inspired by this text, and declaring and writing what will be. I hear this is fun. What else do we have here? Put in the chat wherever you are. Energized, playing full out, charged up, amazing, great, exuberant. Now, you know better than anyone else, you can have this every single day. You can have this every single day with the Miracle Morning and with your savers. So it's an honor for me to do it with you here live. And I hope that we'll have the opportunity to do there a lot more in a very special way, which I'm sure Hal has told you all about.
Yeah. Hey, Lucy.
Hi, Hal. How do you
That's
feel?
I wrote in the chat, energized. I feel energized. I feel good. I feel happy. I love, everyone that I've played your tracks for in the app, they, somebody described it as they feel like you're holding them. Like your voice is so comforting and so loving. In fact, I mentioned earlier, Nick Conadero was here, the director of the Miracle Morning movie. And I played him the Savers 101 track in the app. And he's just like, I love her voice. It's so soothing. I'm like, I know. So
I'm so glad.
yeah. So I want to talk to you for a couple of minutes about a few things. One is, I just want to hear in your words, how did you discover the Miracle Morning?
I discovered the Miracle Morning through my late business partner, Patricia Moreno, who is the creator of Intensati, which is the part of the Savers that's exercise and affirmations together. And we were creating our own program of all of this that we do, Intensati, the workout, but then also journaling and reading and meditations in the morning, in the evening. And she was reading the Miracle Morning and she was like, you have to read this. This is exactly what we do on paper. She's like, I do it in person, but I've never written a book. And he wrote the book, but he's not doing it in person yet. So we got to meet this guy. And then there was a serendipitous meeting where we got to meet and we got to do Intensati and the Savers live together many times in person. And now we have this opportunity to do it all over the world every single day in this digital format in the app. So it was a blessed connection that brought me to the Miracle Morning.
Yeah, it was. I was at an event and Patricia Moreno, your late business partner, and Patricia passed away a couple of, when did she pass away?
January of this year.
January of this year. It feels, for me, it feels so long.
I know.
I saw her and Brianna had been telling me, you have to meet Patricia Moreno. You have to meet Patricia Moreno. She is like the Savers live. She embodies the Savers. And so I went to this event that I was speaking at, the Passion Summit with our friend Kerry Smolinski. It was his first event. Patricia was there. And I watched her and I called John Berghoff. At that time, we were leading our annual Best Year Ever Blueprint events. We did 6 years of those. And I said, John, I just met this woman, Patricia Moreno. We have to have her at our event. She literally does the Savers live. She calls it something else. It's called Intensati. It's her own spin on it, but she embodies the Savers. And so we had her out to our live Best Year Ever event, and she led everyone through the practice. And yeah, we were always talking about how we would collaborate, and she passed away, and you are carrying on her legacy. And I thank you for that. And I honor you for that. And what you and her co-created is it's so special. I mean, everyone got to just experience a taste of it.
Yeah.
So what you've been recording tracks in the Miracle Morning app without anyone being able to hear them. Like, that's such a weird thing. Like, you're putting out these tracks every month, and it's only me and Josh and you that are actually, and Bree, of course, Brianna gets to hear them. Josh is always playing them for Bree. But what's that been like for you over the last 6 months or so of recording these tracks? And what's that like?
It's been really exciting because I've been looking forward to this day, like a birth. Like, one day people are just going to get this. And I remember before I was creating any of these tracks, I was wishing I had it too. I said, I don't know how to meditate. What am I supposed to visualize? What affirmation am I supposed to create? And to be able to be part of this experience where we can guide and make that easier and take away the fear and the worry is amazing. So I had all this energy, all these months, like, okay, we're creating more. And it was really fun to work with you and work with Josh and say, what else? What else could we do? We could do Savers for Kids. We could do Savers for your morning meeting. We could go a deep dive on silence. We could do exercise affirmations you put in your ear when you're doing your own workout. So it's been really fun. And I've been looking forward to this day for months, almost 6 months.
I know. It's so, you're like the best kept secret in the Miracle Morning movement. Yeah, no, me too. So, all right, well, I'm excited. And yeah, like you said, we've talked about like, we have all these ideas of like, let's do live experiences in the app moving forward.
Yeah.
And eventually we want to bring the Miracle Morning community in the app where it's off of Facebook, and you don't have to have a Facebook account to actually be in the Miracle Morning community. We can just be our own kind of self-contained community. So there's a lot of exciting possibility as well. Thank you for all you've poured into the Miracle Morning community over the last 6 months and more. Thank you for today. Thank you for leading at all of our live monthly events. It's been really just such a pleasure, and we're just getting started. I'm so grateful to know you.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm so happy to celebrate with the whole Miracle Morning community today, and I'll see you on the app.
All right. Bye, Lucy.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So we're going to go into the Q&A. This is, and I've got about a dozen questions teed up. But again, if you want to try the app, it's, and the app's still free. I saw someone in the comments type, "Oh, I'm so sad the app's no longer free." No. The app is still totally free. All the features, the journal, the affirmations, the timers, all of that, it's all free. The tracking of the savers. This premium version is a total option. So there's, we're still sharing this resource to help as many people as we can for free. But if you want to experience Lucy, you can do the 7-day trial in the app. And the way you do it is just click on any of the tracks that have a little lock button, and go from there. All right, I'm going to go into questions. All right, ask me anything. So if you have questions, you can start typing them in the chat. Now, I realize over 1,000 people are watching this right now, or over right now we're at 778. It looks like so might be challenging, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start while you're thinking of your questions and typing them in the chat. I'm going to go through questions that were posted ahead of time in the Facebook group. Here we go. From Emily Rose. And by the way, let me just set some context. You can ask me anything. Now, I can't promise I'll answer everything. If there's an offensive question, I'm probably going to just ignore it. But anything that if you want help with something, or if you want to ask me something about how I do my Miracle Morning or how I deal with challenges, and I think you'll see we've got about a dozen questions that I'm going to go through right now. This will give you an idea of different types of questions so that'll spark your imagination. And I'm going to stay on for as long as I can. I think I can stay on for at least an hour, maybe even longer, just answering your questions. And if you don't have a question, I would encourage you to consider staying on, because what ends up happening is when somebody asks a question, this happens so often when I'm in a Q&A environment, you go, "Oh my gosh, I want to know the answer to that too." Right? So even though you might not have a question, but stay on and listen to the questions that people ask. And I'll always try to make my answers universally applicable for all of us. All right. So first question from Emily Rose. For the reading element, do you think audiobooks can work as a substitute, or is there more tangible benefits from reading and annotating books? Audiobooks work absolutely. The purpose of reading is to gain new ideas and insights that can either change your thinking or change your behavior, right? One of the two. Miracle Morning kind of does both, but it changes your thinking by changing your daily behavior. So an audiobook can do that just as well. I personally prefer to write in my books because I don't have the best memory. Every time I say that, I always hear someone going, "Hal, don't affirm that." Yeah, whatever. I have brain damage, so it's a real thing. The struggle is real. But I like to write in my books because I underline about, let's say, 20% of the books I read. I'll underline anything that I want to revisit and remember. And then I go back and I can reread the entire book in a fraction of the time. And in the margin, I'll write a note like, share this with Ursula, right? Like if it's something I want to share with Ursula, or, incorporate this in my speech, or add, like, I'll put a note to tell me what is this section that I underline? How do I want to use that moving forward? So that's something that with an audiobook, you can take notes, but you can't quite do that. So the answer, Emily, is yes, you can use audiobooks for your reading. And those are my reasons why I personally prefer physical books. Thank you for the question. All right, Michelle, I would love to hear more about your affirmations process. I listened to a recent podcast where you discussed how you approach this differently than most. I would love to elaborate on it. Thank you for your time. Michelle, thank you for your question. So my affirmation process, there's two aspects to this. Number one, an affirmation is simply a reminder of something that you deem important enough to remember. Okay, that in the simplest form. So a quote could be an affirmation. Literally, a picture could be an affirmation. Like if you had a picture of you at your finest, right? Like maybe it was when you were in the best shape of your life, or when you were, a special moment that makes you feel wonderful or reminds you of how you are capable of showing up every day, right? It could be a word, a phrase. That's an affirmation in its simplest form. Sometimes when I'm reading a book, there will be a line in a book and I'll go, oh, I need to remember that. I need to embody that. And so I will type it in my affirmations. So in their simplest form, anything that you read, that you remember, you are affirming to yourself. Now, more specifically to Michelle's question about what's my process, I use 3 steps, and I use this for each of my affirmations. Step 1, affirm what you're committed to. So I am committed to blank. No matter what, there is no other option. That's the template you can write down. I am committed to blank. No matter what, there is no other option. Now that blank could be an action or a behavior or a habit, something you're committed to doing, or it could be an outcome, such as I'm committed to changing 1 million lives one morning at a time, right? That was an outcome that I was committed to. I'm committed to making the Miracle Morning movie. I'm just thinking of things that in what we've talked about today, where you've seen these outcomes that have come to be, and they've come to be because I made an unwavering commitment to do whatever it took to make those outcomes a reality. Number 2, it's a must for me because. This is a must for me because. Affirm why it is a must for you to follow through with that action, that habit, that activity, or that outcome, and list it in bullet points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why you're committed no matter what. And I'll give you an example. When I had cancer, you may have heard me share this before. Step 1, affirm what you're committed to. I wrote down in my affirmations, I am committed to beating cancer and living to be 100 plus years old alongside Ursula and the kids. No matter what, there is no other option. And whenever I felt fear or I felt self-doubt, I pulled out my affirmations. They were on my phone. They were printed out on my bedside table. And I'd feel fear. What if I die? What if I die and I leave my wife and my kids without a husband, without a dad? And I would start to go down that rabbit hole, and then I'd go, wait a minute, this isn't serving me, other than making sure my will is prepared, but it's not serving me to be in a state of consciousness of fear. So I'd pull up my affirmations and I'd override the fear with that statement of faith. I am committed to beating cancer and living to be 100 plus years old alongside Ursula and the kids. No matter what, there's no other option. Step 2, why is it a must for you? And I wrote down, I'm committed to beating cancer for my mom and dad because they don't deserve to lose another child. My sister died when I was 8 years old. And I'm like, I can't have them go through that again. I wrote down, I'm committed to beating cancer for Ursula because I promised her forever and a day. I'm committed to beating cancer for Sophia and Halston because they need their daddy's love, leadership, and affection, and I want to watch them grow up. I'm committed to beating cancer for myself because I deserve to live a long, happy, healthy life. And last but not least, I'm committed to beating cancer for the millions of people who are themselves battling cancer or some other disease and may not have been blessed with the resources and the knowledge that I have. And I can help them to overcome their health challenges. And so those reasons why, when you incorporate into your affirmations what you're committed to, and then why it's a must for you, that second step is what reminds you, I'm willing to follow through with the first step and do whatever it takes to follow through with my commitment. And step 3 is affirm which specific actions you'll take and when. Which actions you'll take and when. And those actions, right? For me, it was I will do chemotherapy because even the best holistic doctors in the world said that was my best option to survive. But I will also do every holistic research and do every holistic practice available to me. And I had a whole list of all the practices, 70 supplements a day, juicing every day, organic vegan diet, 3 coffee enemas a week, lymphatic massage, ozone sauna, my miracle morning, right? I had a whole list of all the specific actions I was committed to taking and when I was going to take them. So that's the formula. And I apply that to parenting and to marriage and to each of my business goals and my personal goals. All three. Number one, what are you committed to? Number two, why is it a must for you? And number three, which specific actions will you take and when to ensure that you follow through? That was a long answer. I hope that was helpful for y'all. Michelle, thank you for that question. Nick says, what are some tools and or details types to help visualize? Well, of course, the new Miracle Morning app has visualization tracks from Lucy, but my visualization practice is different than I've learned from other people. I kind of combined and created my own. I was taught by a lot of self-help experts to visualize the end result, like make a vision board and close your eyes and see and feel yourself achieving everything you want in your life. And that's all I was taught. That's all. That was the whole process. Now, there is a benefit in that, but there's also a detriment to that. The benefit is that you are able to see it and therefore believe it, right? You literally acclimate to the possibility so that what might seem so far off from your current reality, when you visualize it every day, you start to see it and feel it and embody it and acclimate to that possibility. So it goes from being a far off fantasy to something you can really believe in. But if that's all you do, it's detrimental because you trick your subconscious mind into thinking that it's a foregone conclusion. But it's not without effort, extraordinary effort. So the second part of visualization process is you've got to then, after you visualize the outcome, the most important part, in my opinion, is visualize yourself doing the thing you need to do today with energy and enthusiasm and joy. See that picture. See it like a movie. Feel it. Say things to yourself like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be, right, like affirm it while you're visualizing it so that when it's time to actually pick up the phone and make those cold calls or start writing your book or go to work and engage with your colleagues or your employees or your boss or your family, whatever it is that you need to do to achieve your vision, every day you want to see yourself doing the activity that's going to get you there. But when you see yourself doing the activity today, visualize yourself in a peak mental, emotional, and even physical state so that when the alarm on your phone goes off or it's time to do the thing, you've already gone there in your mind, your body, and your spirit and your emotions so that you're compelled to go for that run, to pick up that phone, to do whatever it is that's necessary for you to make the things on your vision board or whatever you're visualizing come true. Nick, I hope that's helpful, and thank you again for the question. Jen Bro says, what do you do with all the journals you have scribed in? Where do you store them? On my shelf. I actually write down there. You can't see it, but I have all my journals over the years. They're all on my shelf. And I keep one journal by where I do my Miracle Morning, which is in our front room. And I just, from time to time, not every day, but I open up the journal and I'll just read a few days. I'll reminisce. In fact, it's funny. I want to show you guys this. This is kind of funny. This is the mock-up that I did on Microsoft Word for the Miracle Morning book. This is the first, you can see it says, Yo Pal Hal Elrod, the Miracle Morning, the not so obvious secret guaranteed to change or changing your entire life. And that was the picture I picked. So yes, those are the humble beginnings that the Miracle Morning started. And this journal, or this, look, these are all my notes. The Miracle Morning, like these are the notes. Whenever I would have ideas that I thought, I need to incorporate in the book, a section that talks about the benefits of the Miracle Morning, that talks about waking up like it's Christmas morning, that I need to, I wrote the intro. I mean, it's all just notes, right? So anyway, all my journals are kept on a shelf in my office, and then one is kept by the Miracle Morning spot. Thank you, Jen, for the question. Elaine said, Elian Elian, I'd love some more tips on entering into retirement. If there are any snippets you can divulge in the lead up to your new Miracle Morning book for retirees, technically for seniors. Yeah, Elaine, thank you so much for that question. And here's what I would say. We've been conditioned to think that happiness, that joy is outside of ourselves. I mentioned this earlier, right? We turn on Netflix because it'll make us feel good. We go shopping because it'll make us feel good, right? We eat food because it'll make us feel good. We're constantly chasing these short-lived emotional highs. And even for fulfillment, right? We go to work because we contribute because it makes us feel good. So what I've been focused on ever since I've gone through these really difficult experiences, how can I feel good no matter what? Right? So if we've been conditioned to think when bad things happen, I feel bad. And when good things happen, I feel good. What I am offering in this new Miracle Life chapter in the book that's coming out, I've been talking about on the podcast, is a new paradigm. Not when good things happen, I feel good, and bad things happen, I feel bad. But no matter what happens, I choose how I feel, no matter what. And so, Elaine, that's my answer. My answer is that I would explore enlightenment if I were you. Enlightenment to me is that ability where you choose to feel in an optimal mental and emotional state, independent of any outside forces. It's a total self-mastery. If you imagine monks that meditate all day, right? They literally spend their entire day, they're not working. I mean, they might do some work in the, around the monastery, but essentially most of their days in meditation. They have found that place inside of themselves that is there for all of us to be completely at peace and fulfilled without needing any external stimuli. To me, that's the ultimate goal, is to find joy in the moment, not in the thing or the activity or the accomplishment. To me, those are all icing on the cake. Those are all bonuses. But to be like the monk who meditates all day and is completely content, beyond content. They are filled with joy and love and an internal abundance that no short-lived emotional high will ever hold a candle to. So as you go into retirement, I would pursue finding that place inside of you that's just grateful to be alive, that's the happiest you've ever been, because you simply have the ability to experience life in each and every moment. And I hope that applies to everybody. I believe that it does on today's call. Elaine, thank you so much for the question. Ruth first says, I'm interested in getting back in there after you've gotten off TMM, right? If you've ever, no, never mind. I was going to say type it in the chat, but I'll lose all the questions. Don't type anything in the chat unless it's a question from now on, please. But we've all fallen off the Miracle Morning, myself included, right? So she says, I want some ideas to give yourself a kick in the pants to restart. Also, more details on staying fluid with the Miracle Morning. I get sidetracked and it doesn't flow. Timing gets off and I judge myself for this. So how do you get back to the Miracle Morning when you fall off? Andrea says, yes, same here. Feeling challenged, getting up early again. I did it for quite some time and I wanted to get back to it again. So I have the same question. How do you kick your own butt? There's a few ways. One is rereading the book or rewatching the movie. I had someone the other day say they had fallen off their Miracle Morning. They rewatched the movie and it inspired them to get started again, right? One of my favorite quotes from Wayne Dyer, it's really a philosophy, is that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so when you can be reminded of why you were originally inspired to wake up early and do the Miracle Morning, which if you haven't read the book in a long time, you're probably going to forget, right? Or you haven't seen the movie in a long time. Now the movie's free. Go watch the movie, miraclemorningmovie.com. Watch it again, right? But that's a great way. Remember why you started it in the first place. Another way to do that is go back to your original affirmations, right? Like when I go back, I love going back to this binder from time to time because it's like, this is when it was fresh. It wasn't a book. It was brand new for me, right? And it reminds me of that essence, that drive, that reason why I started with this. So that's one way. The other way is, and you can use the app for this, right, is to start another 30-day challenge. Start a 30-day challenge. And it might be good to do revisit the Miracle Morning, revisit the book, the movie, or your affirmations first. so that you can get reminded and excited again and then commit to that 30-day challenge. But the thing is, it takes a while to relaunch a habit, to establish a habit or to get back to an old habit. So you can't commit for a day or two. You've got to get your mindset around, I'm committed for 30 days because I know that if I do this for 30 days, it's going to transform my life again, just like it did when I first started. And I was asked in an interview once, Hal, when you started the Miracle Morning, you were at rock bottom. Why do you still do it? You're not at rock bottom anymore. And I thought, God, that is such an interesting question. Why do I still do it? And it goes back to what I said earlier today in this broadcast, which is we all have one thing in common, an innate drive and desire within us to fulfill our potential. And human potential is limitless. It is limitless. Your potential is limitless. It's not like you're going to arrive someday and be like, well, I fulfilled my potential. There's nothing else to learn or grow or overcome or accomplish. I've arrived, right? That doesn't exist, right? When I'm 90 years old, 99 years old, 100, I'll still be doing my Miracle Morning, learning, growing, evolving, becoming a better version of myself. And so consider that even if you did the Miracle Morning before and it helped you out of a jam or out of a tough time, and then you've learned and grow, right now, start a new 30-day challenge. Maybe start with the movie and the book to remind you of why this practice, why you cared in the first place. Get back to that beginner's mindset and recommit to a 30-day challenge, knowing that you'll be a different person, not just at the end of it, but during the challenge. You'll become a better version of yourself, and you'll end it going, wow, I'm going to start another one. And that's my philosophy is I live my life in 30-day challenges. Every 30 days, I ask myself, what's the number one thing I want to focus on these 30 days? Where do I want to learn and grow? What area? Is it as a husband, as a father? Is it in my business? Is it with my mission? What's the number one thing I'm going to focus on? Doesn't mean I'm not going to focus on the other 8 goals that I have, but I'm going to decide what's the number one that I'm going to really focus my savers on for these next 30 days. And the last tip I'll give you on this, when you miss a Miracle Morning, or you miss a few, or you miss a week because you went on vacation or whatever, which, by the way, side note, vacation on the Miracle Morning, it makes the vacation better. I mean, Miracle Morning on the vacation makes it better, I promise. Never let one missed day turn into 2. That's one of my themes of how if I fall off the wagon, whether it's with my diet or the Miracle Morning or whatever it is, it's never let one missed day turn into 2, which it might mean never let one missed week turn into 2, or never let one missed, maybe you haven't done the Miracle Morning for 3 months, right? Never let that, the whole point is don't beat yourself up. Don't let the past determine what you do now, right? Every moment is another chance to make a new decision, turn it around. Let that be your mindset that every day you're not going to let your failures or your mistakes or your shortcomings from the past determine you making the best decision you possibly can right now. Ruth and Andrea, thank you for those questions. All right, we got a few more questions, and I'm going to go into the chat. Heather asks, when you've had depressive times, and for a lot of, by the way, I already know this question, and the next one I'm going to combine them. If you are dealing with difficult, whether it's depression or a lack of motivation, this next answer is going to be for you. And I'm sure I know a lot of us I've struggled mentally and emotionally more than I ever have before in my life in the last 3 years. Ever. I was in mid 2020, I was suicidal. Every day I thought about taking my own life, and I tried to rationalize how I could take my own life and not have it negatively impact my family. I thought, maybe I could drive off a bridge, make it look like an accident. Okay, but my kids need my guidance. I thought, what if I record a series of videos where I teach my kids the best lessons I have about life so they have all those lessons? I'm not exaggerating. These are what I was trying to figure out. How I was so unhappy. I was so miserable. And I equate it to being on chemo for 3 years. Like, it wasn't circumstantial. My life was okay. It was I had a family. We had a roof over our head. I wasn't going through difficult circumstances, but inside I was dying. And I can only figure out that it was 3 years of my brain being poisoned by chemotherapy. Anyway, it's another story. It doesn't matter the cause. Whatever causes you to be in a suboptimal or painful mental and emotional state, I was able to turn it around. And so let me read these questions. When you have had depressive times, completely lacking motivation, what are some things that helped you get back on track? Were you able to still do the miracle morning during these times, or did you fall off the wagon, so to speak? And did other people help pull you out of your depression, or did you find something that helped? So I think this will probably answer the next question too. They're very closely related. But was I able to do the miracle morning during these times? 100%. I doubled down on a miracle morning. When I was suicidal and depressed, the miracle morning was one of the only things that kept me going, because I had affirmations that reminded me that even though my emotions felt out of control, I know who I am deep down. And one of the things that was so depressing is I felt like I had lost my identity. I'm like, this isn't me. I'm like, how can I not have control over my mental and emotional state? Like, I've never been that way. I don't understand. But I maintained faith. And here's one of the things that was helpful for me. I believe that everything that we endure, every adversity that we endure, is an opportunity not only for us to learn and grow, and on the other side of the adversity and even through it to become better than we've ever been before, but also so that we can help other people get through their adversity. Everything I've gone through, from my car accident to my cancer to my financial collapse to this depression, part of what keeps me going is going, I'm going to get through this, not just for myself, but for the people I love and the people that I lead. I'll get through this for my family. I'll get through this for humanity. Like, I'm going to share this with, right now I'm sharing my depression with you and how I got through it, right? So that's a really helpful part. So yes, Heather, I did my miracle morning every day. And one of the things I also did is that I knew I had unwavering faith. I applied the miracle equation: unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. That one day it took forever. It took longer than I wanted it to, but I knew that someday I would get through the depression. I knew it was temporary, like everything else in life. And I'd one day be a better person because of it. And I'd be able to help other people that were going through their depression. So I hope that's helpful and that you apply that. Do your miracle morning and know that this is temporary. Know that life changes. That if you maintain unwavering faith and you put forth extraordinary effort every day until you overcome depression, until you're happy again, until you dig yourself out of your financial struggles, until your marriage, you either in whatever you're dealing with, the miracle equation is the approach, the strategy to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort for as long as it takes. And sometimes it takes longer than you want it to. It usually does, but you'll eventually get to where you're striving toward and look back and go, oh, it was supposed to take this long. I had to go through all of these challenges to get here. Thank you, Heather. Ryan asked this, not to be a downer, but I would like to know what your most difficult moments of 2022 were and what steps you took to get back on track to integrate that into your life. I do love to hear about the success and the victories, but I feel like it would do us all good to hear how the powerhouse of positivity himself deals with inevitable setbacks in life. So I'm just going to keep going because I think Ryan answered that. 2022, were not nearly as difficult. Actually, that's not true. I was reading my journal entry the other day from from June of this year. All right, here we go. So June of this year, I was in a really difficult place. I was experiencing excessive fear. Part of with what's going on in the world, I was focusing too much outside of myself, right? Got to take my own advice. I was focusing on things that were out of my control. But the other challenge was my wife and I had just bought a home. It was our dream home. We live in it right now. But after I bought it and the initial excitement wore off, I went, wait a minute, I'm in over my head. I think I bit off more than I can chew. I spent too much money on this home. And I started living every day in stress and second guessing myself and thinking we should sell this and we should buy something else. And it really affected our marriage because my wife Ursula was like, I love this home. And why would you let us buy this if you think we can't afford it? Right? I'm giving you guys a real peek behind the curtain. I hope that's okay. And I said, and so it was this constant stress. And I remember again, June of 2016, I was in a really stressful, fearful state. And how I got out of it was, it was the miracle morning. I'm not exaggerating. I just clarified, I elevated my consciousness. I became aware that this fear is not serving me. And I wrote an affirmation that said, I will maintain unwavering faith, that I will figure out a way to pay for this house and live happily ever after in it with my wife and our family and so on and so forth. And those things have started to come to pass. And so, yeah, so that was my most difficult time, was June of this year. I was in a really fearful state, and I used the miracle morning combined with the miracle equation to overcome that fearful state. And I can tell you that, I don't know, for the last 4 or 5 months, I got myself out of that fear state. And I'm, back to my old self. And it's interesting how I feel like life is like this, right? If you imagine the stock market, where the stock market goes up and then it goes down, and then it goes up and then it goes down. And if you look at the stock market over the last, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, right? It's an upward trend, meaning it hits a peak and then it goes down, but then the next peak is usually higher than the previous peak. And then the next low is not quite as low. And then it goes up again. I feel like that's life. Imagine your life that way, where just know that you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. But if you can maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort during your lows, then you will eventually start to go back up and your peak will exceed the previous peak. You will learn, you will grow, and you will become better than you've ever been before. Such is life, right? It's that up and down emotional roller coaster, circumstantial roller coaster, but stick with that faith and that effort, and you'll always, always end up on top. You'll keep rising through each challenge that you face. If you're facing one now, I hope that lands for you. All right, this is a tough question, and then I'm going to open it up and go through the chat. Adam Oslander says, if the benefits of the practice is the practice itself, how do I treat myself kindly when I am resistant to the practice? I am still in shock after the recent death of my wife, and powering through is not emotionally in the cards. Adam, I can't imagine what you're going through and what that's like for you. So I've never lost my wife. I can only share from my related experiences, right? Not exactly related, but like the depression I went through when I was suicidal. This is my answer, honestly, is if it were me, I would utilize affirmations. That's why I say affirmations are my favorite practice of the Miracle Morning, because you can very specifically articulate and then edit and improve and evolve, right, in writing, the mindset that you want to embody. If there's something you need to let go of, you can write that in an affirmation. And every day that you read it, you can close your eyes and actually let go of that. Let go of, if there's pain, right? And if you can allow yourself to let go of it. One thing I know that I would do, and I want my family to do when I pass, whenever that is, hopefully after I'm 100 and that affirmation comes true, but I don't want my family to suffer when I die. I want them to celebrate when I die. And I'll share my mindset on death, because that might sound weird. Why would you celebrate when someone dies? My mom's the same way. We talked about this. She was here the other day, and she was visiting from out of town, and we talked about this. And she goes, when I die, I want you to have the biggest party and celebrate me and the impact that I made, whatever you want to celebrate about me. I don't want you to suffer because I'm gone. And so for me, I think about that, and I think, like, if I were to pass, how would I want others to experience life after I'm gone? I wouldn't want them to skip a beat. I would want them to feel just love toward me, not sadness, and I'm sure it's normal to be, I don't mean not sadness. I'm sorry. Absolutely. Sadness is a very healthy emotion. when we're grieving, of course. But for me, I would want them to, yeah, sure, feel sad and miss me, but I'd want them to miss me with a smile on their face. I wouldn't want them to crawl into a ball. I'm not saying that's what you're doing at all, but I wouldn't want my family to crawl into a ball and hide and, and just be suffering and tormented because I'm gone. I'd want them to go, wow, he lived a full life and I know he's at peace with his death. So I'm at peace with his death. That's how I'd want them to receive it. So because of that, if I lost my wife, I would strive to experience peace because she's gone. I can't change it. And I don't think it would serve me to be tormented. And I know, again, you didn't use those words, but in fact, let me reread your question to be as accurate as I can. You said you're still in shock. Powering through it emotionally is not in the cards. How do you treat yourself kindly when you're resistant to the practice? Again, I would have an affirmation that says, I give up being perfect for being authentic. I don't have to be perfect with my practice. I'm just going to do it when it feels right. And when it doesn't feel right, when I'm not up for it, I'm going to give myself grace. And I think Adam, I think that's probably the biggest thing is in that kind of a situation, it's giving yourself grace to feel whatever you feel, to be in whatever state you're in, while simultaneously asking yourself, is this serving me? Is it serving my highest good? Is it serving my wife? Is it serving my family? That's the question I ask is what's the state of consciousness that would serve me and the people that I love and the people that I lead in this moment during this time? And you'll see I get a smile as I ask that question because it's almost always some sort of either peaceful, compassionate, or otherwise positive, loving state. And so I use my miracle morning to get into that state of consciousness so that it serves me and it serves the people around me. So again, my heart goes out to you, friend. I'm sending you so much love. I love you. I'm with you in spirit for what that's worth. And I wish you the best. I absolutely do. And thank you for being so vulnerable as to ask that. Actually, that's it. We are going to, I'm going to go back to the Q&A slide because now I'm going to open it up. Actually, let's go to me full screen. Yeah. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to ask my team to get that off the thing. Okay. So, Adam, you're getting a lot of love. Christina Simon sends you love. You're getting love. G. Clinkar says you should also seek grief counseling for what that's worth. Rach 0271 says EFT tapping. Thank you all for sharing. Heather Mayo says, Adam, I'm sorry for your loss, but if you start the miracle morning, it might put you in the mindset to be clear with your thoughts for yourself to grieve. So I'd imagine that he is doing the miracle morning. And Tiziano says, Adam, I send you a big hug, man. So you're getting lots of love. Thank you all. Just an example of our community. And there's a lot more. So I'm going to go through the comments from the bottom up. Jason Summers says, can it be? And by the way, thank you everybody that's posted a comment. Wow, I can't believe we still have 500 people on after it's like almost 2.5 hours into the event. This is amazing. Thank you all for hanging on. And I'm going to get through as many questions as I can. Jason Summers says, can it be effective to break up the savers at different times of the day, or is it best to do them all in order? Great question, Jason. And someone else said, Mary Marinara said, Jason, I love that question. Very curious to know the answer. So it can be effective to break up the savers at different times of the day. Here's my thought on that. People have asked me, Hal, can I do the savers any time of day? Can I do the savers any time of day? Why does it have to be in the morning? And the answer is you can do them any time of day, and they will benefit you any time of day. The reason to do them in the morning is this. The benefits of the savers are immediate. Elevating your consciousness, lowering your cortisol levels so you're less stressed. You have more clarity, more energy. So if you wait and do the savers in the afternoon or in the evening, you've missed out on those benefits all day long. That's why I do the miracle morning in the morning, is because you want to have more clarity, more energy, more knowledge, more drive, on and on. You want to be in an optimal mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual state first thing in the morning. so that you can show up to every aspect of your life in that optimal mental and emotional state. So yes, you can do savers any time of day. I know a lot of people do. I've heard people do savers in the morning, and they also do a miniature, like 6-minute savers in the evening for their miracle evening, because they book in their day with their miracle morning, which is great, right? With their savers. But that's the reason to do it in the morning. Now, I will say this. One question that we've gotten for many years in the Miracle Morning community is, hey, Hal, I have a newborn, or hey, everybody, I have a newborn. I'm barely sleeping, right? Like I sleep when he or she sleeps, when my baby sleeps. So how do I do my miracle morning? And the answer that comes back from usually from other moms that are, taking care of, they go, I've been there, done that. Here's what I did. Is they say, I do my savers when my baby naps, whenever I can. Basically the answer is whenever I can, right? So they might do meditation in the morning while they maybe get their affirmations in, and then your baby wakes up, right? And okay, now you take care of your baby. And then when your baby falls asleep, right, for the next nap, or when they're sitting in their little chair rocking or whatever it is, you get a few more of your savers done. So remember, there is no wrong way or right way to do the savers. Yes, you get more benefit when you do them in the morning because they impact your day. But again, they benefit you all day long. So do the best with what you have. And another question people always say, I work the night shift, a graveyard shift, right? I sleep during the day. How could I do a miracle morning? I say, well, whenever you wake up, whether that's at, whether it's 6 in the morning or 6 in the evening, do your savers first thing when you wake up. So if you're working from midnight to 6 a.m., which I used to do as a DJ on the radio, right? I do my miracle morning. I would do it at, 10 or 11 p.m. whenever I was waking up, right? To start my day, whenever your day starts, do your miracle morning then. Do your savers then. Jason, great question. All right, going through. Hal Sula says, Hal, what are some of your favorite inspiring quotes or affirmations? Can you add some of them to your inspiring products in the Miracle Morning shop online? Yes, we are adding those to like t-shirts and mugs and all that in the Miracle Morning shop. But probably my favorite affirmation is I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of everything I want for my life as any other person on earth. And I will prove it today with my actions. Right? We all have that imposter syndrome, that voice of self-doubt that I mentioned earlier. We all have that. We all have that. Everyone, even the most successful people in the world, people that you see and you go, wow, that person has achieved everything they've wanted, right? They still deal with self-doubt. In fact, sometimes the more successful someone is, the more pressure they feel, and the more is at stake, and they feel even more pressure than before they were successful, right? So even though on the surface they may appear like they got it all together and they're confident and they have it all figured out, right? We all struggle with that behind the scenes. So for me personally, and now I've affirmed it so many times, it's part of my consciousness that I am just as worthy, just as deserving, and just as capable as any other person of in achieving everything I want on earth. And one thing that's important to consider that helps contribute to that mindset is we often create separation between us and people that we admire, people that we view as more successful or smart or wealthier or on another level in any way. We create separation and we go, oh man, if only I had their looks or their talent, or if only I was younger or older, had more experience or whatever. We create separation. And that is disempowering, right? You're literally disempowering yourself by, well, I don't have what they have. So years ago, I decided to flip that mindset and go, I'm going to look at every other human being on the planet, particularly those I admire or I aspire to be more like, as evidence of what's possible for me. Yeah, they may be younger or older or better looking or whatever, but they're a human being. They started out in diapers, or they started out with no diaper, right? They started out as a baby and they didn't know how, let me tell you where this mindset started for me. I was 19 years old. My entire life up until that point, I had been mediocre at everything I did. I was mediocre at my grades were mediocre. I always got in trouble at school. I didn't play like sports in school. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't popular. I was none of those things. I was a class clown. The only thing I excelled at was making people laugh and getting in trouble. Like, that's all I excelled at. And when I started my Cutco sales training on the second day of our 3-day training, our manager, Jesse Levine, one of my best friends, and not at the time, I didn't know him at the time. I really admired him, but now we worked together for many years. We become friends. And Jesse told us about the Fast Start record. It was the first 10 days of selling Cutco. And there was all sorts of contests. It was this big deal because they wanted to incentivize you to be really excited to work hard in the beginning, because that would establish your mindset and your habits that would determine your success moving on. So for the first 10 days only, if you sold $1,000, you got like the most popular Cutco knife. $2,000, you got like the best little set. Right? There was all these levels, and they got better and better and better the more Cutco you sold in those first 10 days. If you the highest level was if you broke the company record. If you broke the all-time record, which at that time was $12,037, I think, or $12,037. If you broke that record, you got every single item on the list below it. You got taken out to a 5-star restaurant at like this nice, really expensive restaurant. They would take you skydiving. I think there was like another option, but I chose skydiving, and you held the all-time record. There was all these different, like, it was amazing. And something inside my mediocre mindset that had always been mediocre and done the least I had ever done, which, by the way, if you're watching me say this, hearing this right now, I really want you to consider, if you don't consider yourself extraordinary, which I didn't at the time, right? If you look at your past and you go, I'm just average or I'm below average, that's what I did at that time. I really want you to hear this story because there's this great quote from Tony Robbins. He says, it's in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. And I had this moment of decision at that time. I went, okay, I just learned about the Fast Start contest. What am I going to do? And I just thought to myself, if this girl, there was a young woman my age, 19 years old. She lived an hour and a half south of me in Bakersfield, California. I was in Fresno, California, which, by the way, if you know about Fresno, California, no offense, I love Fresno, but it's not an upper class. It's not like Beverly Hills or like, some fancy place in the Bay Area. Like, it's Central California. It's like, anyway, so it's not like it was this wealthy place, and neither is Bakersfield. But I thought, if this girl could sell $12,037 in 10 days. She's the same age as me. She had never sold knives before. Why not me? Instead of creating the separation, oh, wow, she must have some rich people to sell that much Cutco, right? I could have made excuses like we often do. I went, her breaking the record is evidence that I could do it too. And I want you to consider that. Anything another human being has done that you aspire to do is evidence that it's possible for you too. And so I went out. It was very difficult. I worked like 90 hours in those 10 days, 9 hours a day on average, plus driving 30 minutes. But I was working 12 hours a day for 10 days in a row. And by the way, I had never had discipline like that. It's in your moment of decision that your destiny is shaped. It was the moment that I went to Jesse after my training and said, Jesse, I want to break the Fast Start record. And he said, and I thought he was going to be so excited, jumping up and down for me. And he said, Hal, okay. He goes, can I be honest with you? I said, yeah, of course. And I was all excited, He said, I hear that every week in training. We run training every week. Every week someone tells me they want to break the record. He said, I've been a manager for I don't know how many years at the time. And he said, you know how many people that I've trained have actually done it? I said, no. He said, 0. Every week, at least one person tells me they want to. That's 50 plus people a year. And I've not had a single person break the record. And I started to, my enthusiasm kind of went down a little bit. And I go, oh, okay. He said, do you know why that is? I said, no. He said, because they're not fully committed. I said, okay. He said, it's one thing to say you want to do something in your life. It's another to be fully committed to do whatever it takes, no matter what, until the last possible moment. By the way, you can see where the miracle equation started to be born, right? Unwavering faith until the last possible moment, extraordinary effort until the last possible moment. And he said, if you're willing to be committed, to make an unwavering commitment, to give it everything you have, work every possible waking hour you have for the next 10 days. He goes, it's only 10 days of your life. Then you can go take a vacation. He said, but if you're willing to commit at a level you've never committed before, and I encourage you to think about that, whatever you want in your life, if you're willing to commit at a level you've never committed before with unwavering faith and extraordinary effort, he said, I believe that you can break the fast start record, and I will help you. I will support you. I will coach you. I will talk to you every day, multiple times a day. But you have to be committed, fully committed, no matter what, for 10 days. And I'll be honest with you, the mediocre version of me, which was the version that I feel like I was at that time, was wanted to be like, I've never committed to anything like that. Are you kidding me? I've never, like, what? I don't know who you're talking about. But I was embarrassed to say anything other than yes. Like literally, that's literally the only reason I'm here today doing what I do, is because of the moment of decision where I decided I wanted to do something I had never done before. I was tired of settling for mediocrity. That if another human being, I remember her name was Christy, she lived an hour and a half south of me and she sold $12,000. If she did it, why not me? I could do it too. And then I was embarrassed to say no. So I gave Jesse my word. I will commit to give it everything I have and work harder than I've ever worked in my life for the next 10 days. He basically said, you need to follow my lead. I'll tell you what to do. I know how you need to break the record. You have to follow through and do it. I said, okay, I'll do it. My first day out in Cutco, you may know this, I sold $0. I needed to average over $1,200 per day every day. And my first day, I went 0 for 3 and I sold nothing. And I called Jesse and I felt like quitting. I said, Jesse, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, dude. I'm 0 for 3. I sold nothing. And he said, Hal, there's one of two ways you can respond. God, I love this story. I haven't told the story in a long time, and it reminds me, it's such a fun story to tell. He said, there's one of two ways you can respond. You can do what you feel like doing right now, which is quitting. I said, yeah, that's the option I'm leaning towards. What's option number 2? He said, let me ask you a question. Do you want to be successful in life? I said, of course. He said, do you think a successful person would quit right now? And I went, oh, I mean, of course, no, of course not. He said, what do you think a successful person would do in this instance? I said, they'd probably get on the phone and make as many calls as they could and schedule more appointments for tomorrow and the rest of the week. He said, are you committed? Are you going to do, is that what you're going to do? I said, yeah, I guess. So even though I felt like a failure and I was embarrassed and I felt like there was no way I could break the record, I followed through with my commitment anyway. I want you to think about that. There's always a way when you're committed. The miracle equation is really just a breakdown of what that commitment looks like. It's committing to maintain unwavering faith no matter what until you reach your goal. And it's committing to put forth extraordinary effort every day, no matter what, until you reach your goal. But it was simply one word, commitment, making a commitment. And I went out there and the next day I sold $2,768. And I caught up. I was ahead of where I needed to be. And I went out there every day and I worked and I worked and I worked. And I did 92 appointments and I made 62 sales. Sorry, 62 appointments. I don't know. I did a lot of appointments. I sold on 2/3 of them. So I had a lot of people reject me. I dealt with a lot of rejection. Going into the last day, I was still $3,000 away from my goal. And I was scared. But I maintained unwavering faith. I gave it everything I had. And on my very last appointment, I sold like $2,000. And I ended up selling $15,000 for the whole thing. So anyway, that's the long story. I forgot why I was sharing that. That was a long tangent. I hope that was valuable for you. But the lesson again being that anything another human being has done is evidence of what's possible for you. And you affirm that by reminding yourself that you're just as worthy, just as deserving, just as capable of whatever it is that you're willing to commit to. If you're committed, there is always a way. And if you're not committed, and if you don't develop the habit of committing to the things that you want in your life, you're never going, like, if not now, when? Like, if not now, when? You've got it, whatever it is in your life right now. Recommit to a 30-day challenge of the Miracle Morning and take the number one area of your life, your number one goal, the number one thing you want to change or improve or transform. It could be your marriage, could be your finances. And for the next 30 days, focus all of your energy on doing everything in your power, maintaining unwavering faith through your affirmations every day, and putting forth extraordinary effort throughout the day to improve that area of your life. And guess what? 30 days from now, you're going to be way further than you are now, either logistically further or at least mentally and emotionally further in terms of your ability to stay committed. Solo, thanks for the great question. When will we have live and podcasts in different languages? Oh, Rosario, that's such a great question. Miracle Morning community, can somebody help me figure that out? I mentioned earlier, we have like 60 or 70% of our community is outside of the United States. And I know some of them speak English, but many don't. I don't know how to translate everything we do in 37 languages. And I'm almost embarrassed to say that because I'm sure I could figure it out. It's on my disgrace list, by the way. I mentioned earlier my disgrace list, the list of things you know you could do, you should do, but you're not doing them. That is high on my disgrace list, is translating everything that we do. But it's like every email, every Facebook post, every podcast, right, into 37 different languages, every single thing. So I don't know how to do that. And if anybody can do it, email support@miraclemorning.com. Or if you know, Bree, should I bring you up or what's going on? No, don't bring you up. But you're texting me? All right. Y'all can't see Bree. I have a little back room, green room. I can see Bree. And she's like, I got you. All right. Bree, you've heard me talk about this for years. Why are you just now telling me? All right. Oh, check the text now. Oh, Bree says, I have it covered. Bree is my little miracle worker. She's so good. Thank you, Bree. I love you. All right. So Rosario, Bree has it covered. I guess we're good. I don't know. Yeah, we got it. We'll figure it out. And then Tiziano, let me see. Ted has to sign off. Is this available afterwards to review? I think we're recording this. I actually don't know because I did not push record. Josh, let me see. Maybe Josh texts me. Yeah, it should be. It should be recorded. So hopefully it is, and we can send this out to everybody. Mobile Millionaire says, thank you for your vulnerability and transparency. You are welcome. Sherry, Beryl, Hal. Okay, Terry Alston Wilson has a question. Hi, Hal. Do you have a set schedule for what time you are going to bed every night? Yes, I do. I struggle with setting a set time so I can get up at 5 a.m. every morning. I'm only going to get maybe 4 hours of sleep sometimes. So yes, the Miracle Morning starts the night before, right? The Miracle Morning starts the night before. It's why I'm including a Miracle Evening chapter in the new updated and expanded edition. The Miracle Evening starts the night before. And so I go to bed at the same time every night. I shouldn't say every night, almost every night. My wife and I have a date night sometimes, and I'm up till midnight, right? And I set my alarm for 7 a.m. I used to shorten my sleep and get up no matter what. When I got cancer, I took every aspect of my health very seriously. I try to live impeccably in terms of my health. So sleep, diet, and exercise. I exercise almost every day, at least 5 days a week. I eat a vegan organic diet. Actually, I shouldn't say vegan. It's vegan during the day, and it's paleo by night. I know you didn't ask this question, but I'll throw this in there. I'm very specific in everything that I do. And this is a great idea, by the way, for a 30-day challenge. If you're someone that your personality is, if you're kind of all over the place, kind of with my bedtime's all over, and sometimes I eat good and sometimes I eat bad, and sometimes I do good habits and sometimes they're bad, I would encourage you to consider that as a theme for a 30-day challenge where you create what I call a foundational schedule. Or I actually have a podcast. Here's a little preview, y'all. This Wednesday, the podcast is on 4 unique steps to make 2023 the best year of your life. And I took a different approach than I have in the past. But one of the tips is to create a value-aligned schedule. That's one of the steps. Here's a little preview. Meaning, once you've assessed your values, which this podcast will help you do, it comes out this Wednesday. Once you assess your values, you then incorporate them into your schedule. So if you value exercise, health, fitness, right? Well, you better have 30 minutes of exercise or 20 minutes or 10 minutes of exercise in your schedule during your miracle morning or after. If you value health, you better have healthy eating in your schedule. If you value, rest, you better have that bedtime in your schedule. So my bedtime is 9 p.m. every single night, unless I have some function where I'm up late with my family or with friends or whatever. But I'd say that I average 9 p.m. at least 6, if not 6.3 days a week. I'm in bed on time. In fact, it's funny. John Vroman, I just spoke at the Front Row Dads Retreat last weekend, I think. And John Vroman was making a joke. Somebody asked me a question similar to this. He said, Hal's the only person I know that when we go to Vegas, most nights we're in Vegas, he's in bed by 9 p.m., right? Like, I value my miracle morning that much. I call it healthy OCD. So that's a long answer to your question, Terry, that yes, I have a schedule for what time I go to bed. It's the same almost every single night. And by the way, I don't start heading to bed at 9 p.m. I start heading to bed between 8 and 8:30. I like to be in bed by 8:30, teeth brushed, face washed, whatever, in bed by 8:30, because I read for 30 minutes before I go to bed every night. That's the crux of my miracle evening is 30 minutes of reading a book on spirituality, a book that makes me feel really connected to my higher self. So in bed by 8:30, asleep by 9. That's my evening routine every single night. Thank you for the question. Serene says, how do you prioritize which area of your life you want to improve first? I often get overwhelmed because I want to do everything at the same time. And in the end, I don't even start. I know that's a question for like 99% of us. So Serene, thank you for asking that question. So how do you prioritize which area of your life you want to improve first? Intuitively, ask yourself, what area of my life do I need to improve more than any other? And you'll know the answer. If finances if you're struggling financially, right, then that probably needs attention. It doesn't mean, here's where I think we struggle. I think we get hung up on thinking what's most important in the whole of life, right? So meaning you would go, well, my family's most important, right? Or my health is most important. So trying to put finances ahead of health or ahead of family, it feels incongruent, right? It feels no. I can't focus on making money. I need to be a better dad or mom or spouse or whatever. Timing is what's important here. If you focus most of your energy on one area of your life, such as finances, I picked that area, so we're going to go there. It doesn't mean that money's more important than your marriage. It doesn't mean that money is more important than your kids. It doesn't mean that money's more important than your health. It means that right now, finances are a struggle, and I'd be willing to bet. In fact, think of it this way. If you're struggling financially, I bet it's affecting your health. It's almost certainly affecting your mental, emotional, and physical health. If you're struggling financially, I would bet it's affecting your marriage. It's hurting your marriage, right? What's the number one cause of divorce? Well, I've read that it's money issues, right? That causes stress. I know in my life, when my wife and I have been going through financial challenges which we've had over the years, I know that becomes a huge stressor in our marriage. I'm sure it's affecting your ability to show up as a parent, right? So ask yourself that. And again, if your marriage is really struggling, that probably affects your mental and emotional well-being. I guarantee it does. It affects your ability to earn money, most likely, right? Whatever area you're struggling with the most likely is hurting the other areas. So put your energy into that. And I'll give you an example of how I did this, and I'll tell you how it turned out very quickly. In 2011, my wife and I moved from Sacramento, California, where we lost our house. I bought a house at the peak of the financial housing market in 2006. You guys know the story. It's why the Miracle Morning was invented, right? The economy crashed. I lost my house. 6 months of a downward spiral. I went into debt. I had, $50,000 in credit card debt. My house was foreclosed on. My credit was ruined. I was a mess. And the Miracle Morning turned it around so fast. I called it a miracle and, became Miracle Morning, right? Well, 2011, I was living with my dad because my wife and we just had a baby in 2009 and we had to move in with my dad because I couldn't afford to live on my own. I was in my late 20s. And we finally moved down to Southern California and we rented an apartment. And, I made enough money that we could move out of my dad's and, right. I mean, moving back in with your dad when you're roughly 30, late 20s, 30, not ideal, not what I envisioned, especially after I bought a house, living the American dream. And then I fell off a cliff, right. Meaning success wise or whatever, financially. And I moved into this apartment and my daughter, was born in 2009. So she's about a year and a half. And we're living in the apartment and I'm doing a Miracle Morning every day. My relationship with Ursula was awesome. I was spending time with my daughter who was less than 2 years old, right around 2 years old at the time. I was very spiritually connected. I felt at the time. I exercised 5 days a week. I ate very healthy healthier than most, right? Pretty healthy. And I read books every day on all the topics I just mentioned. I continued to read books on marriage and books on being a dad, good dad, even though I had a newborn and I couldn't even, whatever. We weren't having conversations with my daughter. I focused on all these areas. I read books on spirituality and it hit me one day, probably during a meditation. I went, every area of my life right now is toward a level 10. It's thriving. Except my finances. Like, yes, I'm getting myself out of debt and I'm paying my bills, but that's not an area, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I rated myself a 5. And the other areas were like 7, 8s, or 9s. And I go, why am I reading books every day on being, a better husband when my marriage is going good or great, actually? Why am I reading a book on being more spiritual when I feel really spiritually connected, And so, not that money was more important than my family or my spirituality or my daughter, but at that time I realized, this is the area of my life that is the lowest on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm going to put all my spiritual books on the shelf and my marriage books on the shelf and my parenting books on the shelf. I'm going to read a book on how to make more money. I'm going to focus my affirmations on how to make more money. I'm going to meditate every day on how to make more money. I'm going to visualize making more money and then visualize myself doing the things that will earn me more money. Following? You tracking here? And first book I read was called Multiple Streams of Coaching Income. Okay. I was a coach at the time. I coached people one-on-one. It was $500 a month, I believe is what I charged for 2 or 3 monthly coaching calls. And I was I was earning enough to pay the bills, right? I had dug myself out of the financial crisis I was in before the Miracle Morning. But I wasn't thriving. It was still like just enough to pay the bills and not enough to pay off all my debt and all the other things, right? I wasn't getting ahead. And so I read this book called Multiple Streams of Coaching Income, and I learned about group coaching. And so I asked one of my coaching clients, hey, is there anyone else that any of your colleagues that could benefit from this coaching? And in the past, I would just try to get them as one-on-one clients, but I was kind of full. I couldn't take on many more one-on-one clients. I said, what do you think about having them come onto our coaching call and you can each split the coaching fee. So he ended up getting 4 of his friends, colleagues, it was 5 colleagues. And I launched my first group coaching, 5 people paying $97 a month. So it was the same amount of people, but I was getting, and I was earning the same amount of money. And so what ended up happening was I said, is there anybody else that you think should be on these calls every month? And they said, absolutely. And I said, will you text me their name and cell phone number and I'll just follow up with them and tell them what we're doing. And if you want to let them know, you can. And so they did that. I text all those people And a week later, we had 11 people on the call paying $97 a month. Okay. This is an idea, by the way, on how to grow a business, serving more people for less money per person. This is something when I coach people on how to thrive in a recession, this is one of the strategies, right? Serve more people at a lower price point. And so within about 6 months, I had 70 people paying $97 a month, but I wasn't running 70 calls. I was still running 2 calls a month. And each call was, I think, an hour long. But I was earning $7,000 for those 2 calls. And so and then we ended up, growing it to hundreds of people. But that's an example of how prioritizing one area of your life doesn't mean that it's more important than the other areas. It just means it needs your attention right now more than the other areas. And let me ask you a question. Do you think, earning that much more income without having to put in any more time? Again, I wasn't doing 70 calls or 200 calls. I was doing 2 calls a month, but earning that much more money. Do you think that improved my mood, my mental and emotional health, my ability to do things with my family, right? Have more freedom, got us out of debt, allowed us to buy a home, right? All of those things. So, Serena, I hope that answers your question, right? You prioritize by asking yourself, what area of your life needs the most attention and focus right now? And realizing that doesn't mean it's more important in these other areas of your life, which I think is the big hang up for a lot of us. It just means that it needs your attention, and put your attention on it until it starts thriving. And then you can focus on something else. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you're not focusing on your other goals. In fact, when you focus on one area of your life and you go all in, it helps you be a more focused, disciplined person. And it impacts every area of your life. So you'll be better in every area of your life if you don't scatter your focus so much, but you focus on one area mostly, and then you focus on the other areas. Thank you for such a great question. Facebook user, I don't have your name, but you said, how do I get over the belief or feeling that I'm not worthy of my dreams? I believe that 2 things. Number one, you have to let go of what caused that belief or what perpetuates that belief. So, and this is kind of a therapy approach, right? Where you go and you go, why do I feel like I'm not worthy? And spend time in silence and utilize your scribing for this. So ask yourself, why do I feel like I'm not worthy? And go and just sit with it for 5 minutes or however long you need to. And it might take you multiple days. But sit with it. Why do I feel like I'm not worthy? And by the way, you can apply this to why do I feel like blank? Any insecurity or fear or lack of worth, anything you struggle with, you can ask yourself, why? Where did this come from? Where did this belief come from? You might remember, when I was a kid, I tried and I failed. And that's where that belief came from. Or someone who I loved, who I looked up to, told me I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't worthy, or I was going to fail. Or whatever it is for you, go inside and identify, where did that belief come from? And then in your scribing or your affirmations, affirm, I'm letting this belief no longer serves me. I'm letting it go. This belief no longer serves me. I'm letting it go. And at first, it will probably feel inauthentic. You go, I can't just let it go. I've been believing that for 20 years. It keeps showing up. It's a gradual process, but do a 30-day challenge, letting go of that belief. And then affirm to yourself, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of anything and everything that I aspire to as any other person on earth. And I will prove it today with my actions. So that's the 2-step process. Let go, consciously let go of that belief that's holding you back, that's standing in your way. And then invite a new belief to replace it. Robin Sharma calls this opposition thinking. Whenever you catch yourself entertaining a disempowering belief, immediately replace it with the opposite belief, the opposite empowering belief, and affirm it and embody it. Thank you for the great question. Mary Collin, I love it. Or Marianne Helms points out, I'm sorry, I know this is about the app, but she says, I broke down the app. It's only 19 cents a day, but cheaper than a cup of coffee. Good point, Marianne. Oh, Bree. Do you want to talk?
That's such a funny story. There's so many things going on behind the scenes. You're getting so many messages from people all over the world. Guys, thank you so much for reaching out in so many ways. Hal is only one person. You see him scrolling down in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I want to ask 2 questions at the same time for you.
Okay.
I'd love for you to answer, how do you approach finding an effective balance between inspired action and restorative rest? So that's part 1.
Okay.
And part 2 is, what do you do when you find yourself burned out? An example, I've tried many things and I failed and I stopped after a day or a week and I find myself very discouraged even from the start. So 1, what does it look like to navigate burnout and to actually avoid that by following through? And 2, where is the balance between, showing up in inspired action and resting when necessary?
Yeah. Thank you, Bree. And yeah, please keep helping me with these questions. It's hard to do both, right? We should have set that up ahead of time, but we got it. Better late than never. You're awesome. So so the first one, how do you balance between inspired action and rest and rejuvenation? First and foremost, it's bookending your days. To me, that's arguably the first and most important step. Bookending your days, meaning miracle morning, miracle evening. What does that look like? Well, you know what a miracle morning looks like. But like when I started the miracle morning, right, it was at a low point in my life. I was in debt. I was depressed. I felt hopeless. And I would still go through my days and I'd lose a client. I'd get a bill in the mail and go, oh God, I can't pay this one either, And so I'd have stressful days. But what I loved is every night when I went to bed, I didn't have to anticipate, I got to wake up and I got to face the stressful life again. It was, I get to wake up to my miracle morning. So it was like every night I knew that I would hit the reset button and start the morning, not with my problems and the stressful aspects of my life. I'd start it with silence. That felt good. And I'd start it by reading my affirmations, which felt good, and visualizing and putting myself in a peak emotional state, which felt good, and exercising, which felt good and gave me energy, and reading, learning something that I could apply to my life to improve it. It felt good. And scribing what I was grateful for felt good, right? Think about that. Your miracle morning, this is a total kind of a side note, but we all just want to feel good. That's it. Like everything we do is because we just want to feel good, right? And the miracle morning is 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 6 minutes every day that allows you to start every day feeling good, putting you in that peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state to take on your day. And if you have a bad day, difficult day, stressful day, thank God you're not starting the next day in that difficult state where you're running around like a maniac and you're stressed out and you're in this, right? No, you get to go in the living room and go, yesterday was a tough day. Today might be tough too. But right now, this is what life is about. Life is not what happens. Life is the moment. Life is the essence of who we are. That's life. The rest is a distraction from life. Think about that. Everything you do every day, every time you look at this phone, every time you look at this, right? Like it is robbing you from your reality. Like, yes, you could say, well, but it is my reality. But this is life. This moment is life. The essence of you and who you are in this moment. This life is internal. Life is not external. This is your life situation. That's a big difference. Your life situation is what you think is your life. That's what we think it is. If somebody says, how's life? You start projecting outside of yourself and you go, oh man, I just got in a fight yesterday with my wife, and my mom's not talking to me, and I'm finances are tough, and my job sucks, and right? No. I didn't ask you how's your life situation. Those are just outside forces and events that are changing all the time. Your experience in every moment, that's your life. How you experience, that's why I'm writing a book called The Miracle Life, and a chapter in The Miracle Life. The Miracle Life is realizing that your life is not your life situation. Yeah, it's part of it, of course. I'm always trying to optimize my circumstances, but that is secondary to optimizing my mental, emotional, spiritual state, to optimizing how I experience every moment of my life. So the Miracle Morning is the Miracle Life, right? I get the chance every morning to optimize how I experience who I am and how I show up, and then do that at night. You don't have to do a full-blown Sabres at night. I know some people do. Here's my miracle evening. This is all I do at night. I've already done the affirmation, the miracle morning or the miracle evening affirmation, the bedtime affirmation. I've done that so many times that, in full transparency, I don't do it anymore. It's part of who I am. I don't need it anymore. I just live it. I've lived it for 14 years, right? But if you struggle with waking up in the morning and beating that snooze button, by all means, you better print the bedtime affirmation. You can find it at tmmbook.com. tmmbook.com. That's all the bonuses. Get the bedtime affirmation, download it, print it, keep it on your bedside table. I did that for years. I don't need it anymore. What I do is I read for about 20 minutes. And then as I'm falling asleep, I just think of things. Instead of counting sheep, I count my blessings, right? I mean, that's as old as time. I just think of things I'm grateful for, and I just get in this blissful state. And I remind myself, this is life. This moment, as I'm falling asleep, I'm safe in my bed. Most people are thinking about their problems. What's happening tomorrow? What happened earlier today? You're distracted from real life, which is always this moment. What you're experiencing in every moment, that is your life. The rest is a distraction. Not that it's not important. Some of it's a meaningful distraction, but it's a distraction. Life is this moment, and how you're experiencing. Life is from the inside out, yet we take it in, right? My life, I'm watching TV. I'm looking at my phone. I'm talking to this person. I'm making money. I'm working, right? We literally are experiencing life through our senses, but it's actually when you close your eyes and you put earplugs in. When you close your eyes and you're still, that's why the float, you ever heard of a float tank, right? Where you're floating. When you are independent of your senses and you're in this inner state of bliss, to me, that's heaven on earth. That's life. And it's available to all of us 24/7. And I try to get there as often as I can. And hand on the heart is how I do it during the day. If I'm in a stressful situation, if I've only got 5 minutes between calls, I'll turn on a Lucy. I'll look, okay, I got a 5-minute Lucy Osborne track on the app, literally. I'll turn on a Lucy Osborne track, hand on the heart, and I'll just go inside and I'll just feel at peace. And so I don't even know if that answered the question, but yeah, I think that's how I do it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Hal. What I'm hearing is that the more you have on your plate, the more important it is to have a miracle morning practice. And I love that that's something that you so beautifully articulated, because most people forget in the midst of chaos that this is where the centering comes from. So thank you for that. I do see that a lot of people are curious between affirmations and goals. And what is that action piece? And on a second note, a lot of people are asking about the app. They're asking about, the different tracks in the app. I'm seeing comments and messages and questions, not only in your email, but also on YouTube and also on Facebook, and they're all being aggregated. And people are saying, hey, what do I do for burnout? Is there a solution in the app? What do I do to keep my streak? Is there a solution in the app? Is there a way to track? And so I'm seeing a lot of people asking about accountability, the difference between accountability and action, the difference between affirmations and accountability, the difference between goals and accountability. There's a lot of words going around, and how the app can support that.
Yeah. So there's two questions there. So the first one is, tell me the first one again.
What is the difference between affirmations and goals?
So for me, right, obviously a goal is either an activity or an outcome. Very important distinction. Most people only equate outcomes to goals, right? A goal is a target that I'm shooting for, right? And either I achieve the goal or I don't. I actually prefer, I set those kind of goals for sure, but I prefer to focus on the activity, the process to achieving the goal, right? So for example, I used to have goals like, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Or a lot of people might have a goal like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. My goal now is, it's really, instead of a goal, it's really a commitment. Like my goal that I'm committed to is to work out 5 days a week, exercise 5 days a week. And by the way, my workouts are short. They're like 20-minute workouts. I just superset. I just don't stop. I go from bench press to shoulders to legs to abs. I just keep going. So it's really efficient. And I also get a cardio workout because I don't stop moving, right? So but so that's the point. I don't care. I've stopped obsessing over how big my biceps are, or or how many pounds I weigh, or whatever. Like, does that? I don't know. Whatever matters to you, right? But for me, I'm like, I just want to be healthy and strong and happy and free. That's it. So my goals are the habits every day, the schedule every day. I mentioned, I'll circle back to the schedule. Every day that will allow me to be healthy and happy and contribute to the world and help other people and love my wife and love my family, right? I don't necessarily need measurable outcomes as much as I really need my goals to be. The goal is every day I'm going to do these things to live a great life. And as far as I wanted to mention the schedule, I called it a value-aligned schedule that's coming out on the podcast on Wednesday. My schedule, I'm scheduled from morning till night. Now, some of you might go, oh my God, I couldn't handle that rigidity. Dude, I have a lot of free time in my schedule. Like I schedule the free time, right? I call it total time freedom, or TTF for short. So I have pockets, like I got 30 minutes of total time freedom here, an hour here, right? I got family time in the schedule. I got dinner time. I got time with my daughter, time with my son, right? It makes sure that once you identify your values, and I'm going to go deep in this on the podcast on Wednesday, once you identify your values and you identify the activities that will help you live in alignment with your values, then you pull out your schedule. I like a digital schedule because I can create recurring images. You could also make this on a Microsoft Word document, right? Like portrait, or is that portrait? The wide one. And like, you can just download, like you can go Google weekly blank schedule and put it on a Word document, print it. And then you could literally, before you print it, you could type in your activity. I'm just saying, if you don't want digital, you could literally create your value aligned schedule and then print them off. And every week you'd have it printed and it's already there. And you know what you're going to do. You could have some blanks if you want. But the point is, I have my wake up time in there. I have my miracle morning in there. I have my 1 hour of family time every morning from 7 to 8 a.m. I have my writing time from 6 to 7. I have I have a buffer between 8 and 9, which is actually a total time freedom. So I wake up at 4 a.m. I do my savers. At 5 a.m., I write my book, whatever book I'm working on. At 6 a.m., I work on my number one mission, usually professionally. So like every day I've been preparing for this, right? For weeks. And I've actually also been spending like 10 hours a day preparing for this, but it's every morning. And then at 7 a.m., I wake my kids up. I rub their back. I whisper sweet nothings into their ear and tell them how much I love them. And then from 7 to 8, I help get the kids ready for school. We have a good time. I turn on music, right? Help my wife. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. is total time freedom. It's when I make my smoothie. I actually do my workout because I consider that like just a really freeing exercise. I go for a walk around my property, right? 9 a.m. is when work starts. I work from 9 to 12 and I have right? So I have my whole day. I've got my lunch break. I've got picking the kids up from school. I've got family dinner time. I've got evening time. I've got my bedtime. I've got my wind down time. Everything is scheduled morning till night. It's aligned with all of my values and goals. As long as I follow my schedule, I go to bed every night looking back going, that was the best day of my life. Because think about this. Why would one day when you lived in alignment with your values be any better than any other day that you live in alignment with your values? To me, that's what makes any day the best day of your life, is when you live in alignment with what matters most to you. So create a value aligned schedule, recurring, which, every day I do this. I wake up at this time, I do the miracle morning, and then I work on this, then this, then this, then family, then this, then free time, whatever. And then all you have to do is live in alignment, and every day of your life is the best day of your life. And there was an app question. What was the app question?
Well, first of all, I love what you just shared, because you're basically saying that every day can be an amazing day. And it's really the determining factor is, do you know your values? Do you honor your values? Do you live into your values? And if the answer is yes to all of those, how often? So I love that you are somebody that lives into your values every day, and you go to bed thinking that was the best day because it was all about honoring what you'd love to see in that day. So there was a lot of questions about the app surrounding accountability and honoring their values, and what would it look like to be able to use a tool to support that. And a lot of people were asking behind the scenes, why an app? There are 100 things you could have done with the direction of the Miracle Morning. And I laughed when I saw that comment the first time, because it's the number one requested thing. Like, why an app? You're going to get into it in a second, but it's literally because so many people have said, can you give me help on practices? So that's really where I want you to start, how you are constantly evaluating what are the requests of the community, just like you have answered so many questions today, and how can you diligently support the biggest needs of the community. And out of that came the app this year.
Yeah. The app's been the most requested thing that I've had, which is why it was number one on my disgrace list, because it was something that I knew I needed to do. And that's the thing, is it's obviously not the only thing we're doing. We're doing Miracle Morning in schools, right? Where, the podcast obviously is still going. We're writing the next book. We're writing the seniors book. So in fact, it's really been hard because for the last 10 years, many of you may not know this, but I haven't had a team. It's been me and Tiffany for 10 years. And people like Bree that we're sharing the Miracle Morning, but it's been basically one person. And so I'm now trying to expand that team, because I've realized that I can only do so much by myself. And I need to have people like Bree and Josh and Celeste and all the, as many people as are willing to help Stephanie to get the movement out there. So as far as the app goes, I know you're asking some questions, like people were asking if it would help with other areas of their life. I'm looking through it right now on my phone. So by the way,
and with, getting all the savers in versus if you're good at one or two of them.
Lucy Osborne has a track called Supercharge Your Commitment, right? I mentioned to you, if staying committed to something is difficult, that's an example of how that track is specific. It does all 6 of the savers, and it's specific to how to supercharge your commitment. How do you actually stay committed to something that you need to be committed to, whether it's a goal, your health, whatever it is. Also, one thing that I realized that we didn't mention is Patricia Moreno, Lucy's partner that passed away in January, her business partner that did the, Intense Saudi with her. Before Patricia passed, she was originally going to be the voice of the Miracle Morning app. And then, of course, her passing, all of her tracks are in the app. And I'm looking, she has I Am Enough gratitude meditation. She has Healing Harmony breath meditation. She has Declare Victory. She's all sorts of tracks, and she leads a bunch of videos as well. I love this one. Toby Sola, who is the founder of Pause, Breathe, Reflect. Right? That's right.
He's the founder of Unified Mindfulness.
Unified Mindfulness
Practices.
Unified Mindfulness Practices.
Bright Mind.
Bright Mind. Oh, you're right. Oh, that's Toby. I'm sorry. I'm confusing with Michael.
I stuttered on that. You stuttered on that one. Then I stuttered on that one. There's a lot of mindfulness people in the Miracle Morning community.
So we had Toby. Toby's phenomenal. He did, it's an 11-minute track called Help Me Make a Decision, right? If you're like me, I'm one of the most indecisive people that you've ever met. I know it doesn't seem like it, but you can ask my wife. I'm always like, I need other people. I'm like, I don't know. What's the right thing to do? And they're like, I wait for somebody else to be like, do this. I'm like, you're right. Okay. So I struggle with indecisiveness. So we asked Toby to do one on how to make a decision. Lucy Osborne has one, dealing with difficult emotions. So there is all sorts of tracks on every type of thing you could, that you could want to do. And the beauty of it is, here's what we're going to do in the app now. I don't know if you all saw this, but in the app, there is a section. If you go to the dashboard, there's a section. If you scroll down, help us improve the app, report an issue, or request a feature. So you can request a feature. So we are going to continue improving the Miracle Morning app based on what you want. And the cool thing is when you request a feature, everyone else can upvote it. So the most upvoted features will tell us what you want in the app. And so that's what we will create. So I mentioned that we want to create a Miracle Morning community in the app so you don't have to go on Facebook. You can do your Miracle Morning right there. And we want it to be where you can literally share like your accomplishments, your achievements, like hit a button and it'll post it in the community, right? So there's gonna be all sorts of functionality. I don't know if I answered the question about the app, but
you did answer the question. And I love the feature that you just mentioned, which is actually how the app came to be what it is right now. So many people said, hey, we want more than just this free app. We want audio tracks. We want visualizations. We want all of these different topics to be addressed. What if I fall off? Well, how do I get started? What happens if I want to, focus on another area? And a lot of people upvoted different topics and different features. And eventually the beta group led to what the subscription is now. And so it's really exciting that it was crowdsourced. That's one of the things that I'm the most proud of you and the Miracle Morning team for doing, is listening to your community and saying, even though I do the Miracle Morning this way, or he does the Miracle Morning that way, this is what people are asking for. Yeah. And not saying this is it, but this is the beginning of continuing to support people, because the truth is, having a Miracle Morning practice ever isn't going to help you today. Having a Miracle Morning practice today is what's going to help you today. So for all the people that have said, oh, I had a practice and I fell off, how do I stay consistent? Hal talks about it on the podcast. He talked about it today. It's featured in the app in like 20 different ways. And that's really where accountability and tracks and a community come into play. And so if you could talk a little bit more about the importance of tracking your savers, the importance of being your own cheerleader, the importance of leveling up your practices. If you're getting a little stale in one area, how a track, like a visualization track or a savers track, can help you to take your practice to the next level.
Yeah, so there's two questions in there. The first one is about the importance of tracking your savers. So when I started the Miracle Morning, meaning in 2007, I still don't know. I can't find the exact date, Brie, of when I started. I've gone through my journals. Huh?
It was definitely 2008.
8? Was it? Okay.
Yeah, 8.
I don't know.
Early on. It was like all of 2008. A long time ago.
So when I asked myself, one of the things I did early on, and if you've ever gotten the Miracle Morning bonuses that I mentioned earlier at tmmbook.com, there's this package. It's like 12 pages, or I don't know how many pages, something like that. And I took the Wheel of Life exercise, which I didn't invent that. That's been used by Tony Robbins and who knows, Brian Tracy. It's been used for many years. I don't know who invented it originally, but the Wheel of Life, I discovered it and I used it where I went, okay, the Wheel of Life, if you're not familiar, it's a circle, right? And it's like a pie graph, and each pie is like, health, fitness, finances, relationships, spirituality, fun. And then from the middle, if you're at a 1, you start in the middle and fill it out, each category. And so you see this wheel, right, where you might be a 4 here and an 8 here and a 2 here, and it's all jaggedy right around the outside. And so I asked myself, I filled that out and I said, what am I in each area of my life on a scale of 1 to 10? Many of you have probably done this. And I asked myself, what would it take to be what would a level 10 look like in every area of my life? This was like right, in the first few weeks or months of doing the Miracle Morning. I thought, what would a level 10 look like in every area of my life? And physically, I thought, okay, I hate running. Sorry, my neck's getting, after doing this for 3 hours, you guys, my neck's getting a little tight. But I thought, I hate running. Well, I go, a level 10 would be running a marathon. I said, I hate running a mile. And I've only done that in PE class when I had to. So at that point, I hadn't run a mile in like a decade, right? And I go, I hate running. So the person I would have to become mentally, physically, emotionally, maybe spiritually, the person I'd have to become to run 26 miles in one day consecutively when I've never run more than a mile, I don't even know that person. I don't even know that person. I'd have to become so much more than I am now. So I wrote down my level 10 goal. That's how I always set my goals. It was my level 10 goals. And if you want this, again, tmmbook.com, it's one of the bonuses. And eventually we'll probably put it in the app, but it's not in there yet. But with my level 10 goals, it was to run a marathon. And I bought this book. I immediately went on Amazon. I'm like, all right, I need to get a book on learning how to run a marathon. And there was a book for people that hated running on how to run a marathon, how to train for it. I was like, that's for me. It was called The Non-Runner's Marathon Trainer, right? So for people that aren't runners, but you want to run a marathon, and it was a lot of the psychology of getting yourself to train very gradually. And so one of the things in there was a tracker. He had you print out a 30-day tracker. And every 30 days, you printed out a new one. I did this for 5 months for training. And the tracker, you wrote how many miles you ran for the day. So it had you were supposed to run 1 mile today. How many did you actually run? Today, you're supposed to run 2 miles. How many did you actually run? Today's 3. Now back to 1, whatever. And he gradually got you to run a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, all the way to the end. And so that's where I was like, I printed an extra tracker. I made my own actually for the savers. And I was like, that is like, and so I started, because I realized, wow, this helps me be accountable. I don't like seeing blanks in my tracker. So every day on the front end, it got me to run. On the back end, it got me to track it so I could see my progress. So I was like, I got to apply that to the Miracle Morning. And again, in the tmmbook.com downloads, one of those is a tracker specifically for each of your savers. And if you look at the app, right, like this is your, can't see it. That's your savers tracker though, right? You check the box next to each one. Here, wait. So right there. So that savers tracker, right? So that allows you to track your savers. And so, you can see it on your phone better than mine. All right. So, but yeah, so that was the first thing we did in the app and people commented when we did that in the first release of the app that I'm so much more consistent, right? Because every day I want to track my savers and, streamers go off, you get like a little surprise party when you track a saver. And if you do all of them and all that, and then there's a calendar view now where you can actually track them and you see your calendar, your progress. And then on day 1, after your first day, a video of me pops up. And many of you probably know that. You've already done that, right? But yeah, it's really important. And I learned that from that marathon training book to track our progress for anything that we want to be consistent with. And that's why it was part of the Miracle Morning. Bria, was there another question that I know we got a lot more questions, so I'm happy to keep going.
There's so many questions. And one of them is like, how do you decide what to invest in? Someone was saying, it's easy for me to decide to go to dinner with my family, but not easy for me to buy that book on Amazon or go to that conference or download that app. So what do you say to people that are easily swayed to spend their time, money, or resources on something that's not in alignment with their values? And how would you suggest they live in alignment with their values surrounding finances and access?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the term I used to use. I think it was just simply kind of like the value aligned schedule. I think I just called them value aligned choices, which is where years ago I had this realization that I'm going to start making all of my choices in alignment with my values. So if I value health, in the moment of decision where I'm looking at a menu, I go, ooh, that fried chicken followed by that ice cream sundae. Oh, looks so good, right? And by the way, did you know eating is an emotional sport? Think about that for a second. It's an emotional response you're having to the taste and the texture of the items on the menu. So you're choosing based on what will give you emotional gratification in that moment, but could cause you a lifetime of suffering. Think about that for a second, right? Like if you're consistently smoking or, putting things in your body that are harmful, and this goes the same thing, putting things in your mind that are harmful or that are at best numbing, neutral, right? But I like the health because we can all relate to that. The making value aligned choices is when I'm looking at the menu, I go, okay, what are the healthy options? And I'm not perfect. Occasionally, right, I'll go have pizza or whatever, but at least 6 out of 7 days, I'm eating a pretty impeccably healthy diet. And by the way, it wasn't always easy. Like this is, I started eating a terrible diet. When I was growing up at high school, we had off-campus lunch. I had Taco Bell every day or Pizza Factory every single day. In college, I had Jack in the Box because I had no money, and that's what I could afford, a 99-cent Jumbo Jack every single day, right? I ate terrible when I was like a teenager and early on. Then I went to a Tony Robbins conference when I was 20, and I was like, they has a whole health day, and they changed my mindset around health. But before 20, it wasn't so good. Other than when I did have mom's home-cooked meals, but any other time I would eat junk food. So, but this idea of value-aligned choices, write an affirmation that says, see, affirmations, that's why they're my number one favorite saver, because anything you want to change in your life can start by you articulating it in writing and then every day affirming it and keeping it top of mind and living in alignment with your affirmation, which is articulating your value. So by living in alignment with your affirmation, you're living in alignment with your values. And so that's it, moment to moment, right? Is buying this thing, whether it's spending money, is buying this thing in alignment with my value, and I don't know if that person was asking about like investing in the app, right? But like if you value personal development or your Miracle Morning, right? Like that would be okay, this is an investment in that. Whereas if you're buying, like I buy minimal amounts of clothes. When I was younger, I was all into fashion. You might notice this is a $12 organic cotton t-shirt. It is heather gray, and I have 23 of these. This is almost the only thing that I wear because I don't care about fashion. Now, there's nothing wrong. It's not a judgment. My wife cares about fashion. Like, don't even, for sure. Like, she's, she when we go out to eat, she's like, can you not wear one of your heather gray t-shirts for our date night, please? Like, fine, I'll wear one of the button-ups that I have left over from when I used to care about fashion, right? Right. But it's just really getting clear on your values. That's step one, which Wednesday's podcast will help you with that. And then it's aligning your choices, the way you spend your time, what you spend your money on, right? What you put your energy into, making sure they're in alignment with your values. And as I talked about on Wednesday's podcast, I believe that living in alignment with your values is arguably the number one key to living a fulfilled life.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to that podcast. And I know so many others are, because when we think about living in alignment with our values, there's so much that comes up. A lot of people are talking in the chat about various values that they have. It's kind of crazy. There's like so many chats going on because you're live in so many places. But I will say that getting clear on your values helps you to make choices that you feel good with. So I appreciate you giving clear-cut examples. If you really value your health, you're not going to make a choice that's yummy, that's going to be, not pleasant to sleep with, to wake up with. It's going to throw off your Miracle Morning. And the same goes for every other choice that you'd make. And so thank you so much. I know that there are literally dozens of other questions just at the bottom and hundreds of other questions that have come in. I do want to address like a couple little things. This is a live stream, so obviously there's a recording. The comments show up in the chat as the event plays out. So if you're trying to look at comments from way earlier, you need to actually get to that section in the recording in order to see the comments. So
I'm actually and just so you know, I'm at the top, Bree. I want to answer some of the first questions that came in because I really want to honor those people because I had originally started at the bottom. And I can just all read them. So this was right after Lucy. Jenna Wright. Oh, I love Jenna Wright. She says, how do you let go of judgments of yourself and others? Again, I love these just universal questions, right? I'm going to start with others, and I'm going to go to yourself because they're very much related. One of my highest values is unconditional love of other people, and which unconditional love for me includes non-judgment. Now, judgment exists in different contexts, meaning like, yes, you should judge someone's actions and assess whether or not you can trust them, right? Like, if someone steals all the time, you shouldn't be like, I don't judge people, so I'm going to let them, borrow my car, even though they're a car thief, right? Like, no, yeah, common sense, judge people, right? But in terms of judging other people, here's the context I'm talking about. And by the way, this is so important to me, that when I was inducted into the Cutco Hall of Fame, and I was supposed to give, they go, give a thank you speech. I go, I don't want to just like thank people. I mean, yes, I want to thank people, but I want to add value for the audience, right? I was like 24, 25 years old. I'm like, if I'm going to be on the microphone, I might as well share something valuable. So I asked myself, what about the way I see the world could be helpful for other people? And I thought of you literally, right? Everything that I that I knew at the time, every success strategy, everything that I felt like I could add value with. The answer to this question is what I came up with. I thought, and I talked from that stage. I said, look, we often judge other people. We judge other people based on our life experience. You look at someone else and you go, they're a bad person. I would never do that. I would never stoop to that level. I would never treat others that. I would never say that. I would never do that, right? We all do that. We judge them. And I should say there's a fine line between judge and condemn. And we really are judging from a place of condemnation, right? We're condemning them for the way that they are acting or behaving or what they're saying, because I would never do that, right? We're very righteous in that. And what helped me was this mindset. Of course, I would never do what they are doing because I'm not them. I don't have their brain. I haven't had their life experience. However, and here's the distinction. This for me is one of the most valuable paradigm shifts that I've ever had. If I had their brain and if I had lived their life and had their life experience, then I would most likely do and be exactly like them. Imagine, let's use an extreme example. Imagine someone beats someone up. They physically beat them to a pulp. And you think, what a horrible person. They are a horrible person. I would never do that. Seems pretty reasonable to judge someone and condemn them for those horrible actions. But consider, let's go to a meta view, right? If you had lived their life, if your dad had beaten you every single day, if you had been bullied and abused at school, and if your mindset was one of fear and scarcity and hate, and that person that you beat up threatened you or made you feel some painful trauma, I'm not saying that what they did was right. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying I'm not going to judge them as less than me. I'm not going to condemn them. If anything, I'm going to view them through a lens of unconditional love, and I'm going to have empathy that they've had a life such as they would be compelled to beat someone else up. Doesn't make it right, not justifying their actions, but I don't have hate in my heart for any person on the planet. And I'm not trying to be righteous. Again, to me, righteousness is not unconditional love. It's the judgment. It's the condemnation. I'm better than you. You're a bad person. No, I love you and I hurt for you. I feel for you. I'm not going to experience the emotion of judgment, hate, and condemnation. I'm going to feel empathy and love. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to wish better for you. And I'm going to do everything in my power to create a world where we don't judge and condemn other people, but we love and attempt to understand and view them with empathy. And I think that is needed to heal humanity as much as anything else is. And last but not least, because the other part of our question is, how do you let go of judgments of yourself and others? The same applies, that you were who you were, and that you were doing the best you could with who you were in that moment, even if you knew better, right? So it's giving yourself grace. It's always loving yourself unconditionally. It's forgiving yourself for your mistakes and your judgments, while simultaneously not making it okay, not condoning it, right? You don't have to hate somebody that did something bad. It doesn't mean you're condoning what they did just because you don't hate them. If you love someone that did something bad, doesn't mean you love what they did. Doesn't mean you're condoning what they did. It means that you realize that human beings are flawed and that they deserve to be loved even when they make mistakes, even though their mistakes might be more horrific than anything you would ever do. They deserve just as much compassion and empathy and love as you do for the mistakes that you've made throughout your life. So apply that same grace and self-love to yourself. I got another question, Bree. I want to keep going because I want to get these early questions.
The UK is going to sleep. So many people are so grateful for you.
I can't believe we have 323 people still on the live stream.
It's not surprising given the amount of value that you add, the amount of knowledge that you're sharing that all of us can take and put into action. So I know that lots of people will wait until you answer every last question that you'd like to. One that keeps coming up over and over and over again is what to do when you're in a dark place. What to do when a family member is in a dark place, what to do when a community member is in a dark place, and not necessarily one where you have the answer like someone has passed away, but what to do when you're in your own struggle, or you're the caregiver, or you're, in a rough patch with your community, etc. How do you show up in dark moments?
Yeah. So how to show up, I think I'll cover for others first and then bring it back to us. Part of this is like when somebody is in a dark place, whether they're going through physical pain. I think about my dad, and he was my caretaker when I had cancer, and physically I was in the dark. I mean, I was on death's doorway quite a few times, right? I lost 25% of my body weight. So I'm 6'1" right now. Before I got cancer, I weighed 170 pounds. I got down to 127 pounds. So I looked deathly ill. I was deathly ill. There were times where I was, I had 105-degree fevers. My dad was driving me at 2 a.m. to the emergency room because I had no immune system, because I had just done chemotherapy, and I was hooked up to not life support, but the IVs and fluids and it was like, I could die that night. And my poor dad. And there was one time where I was injected in the spine with chemotherapy, and they accidentally injected into my nerve, and I experienced 11 days of horrific migraines where I couldn't talk. I couldn't hear noise. I had to have earplugs and white noise. It hurt so bad. I wasn't eating. I was wasting away. And my dad's just watching this, helpless, nothing he could do. And whenever he asked Hal, is there anything? I go, stop talking, Dad. I can't, your voice hurts my head. I'm sorry. Stop talking. And thankfully it was Brianna suggesting I try cannabis that actually changed it all. Today I'm going to be real. And it solved it all, by the way. In 5 minutes, I went from 11 days of pain where I couldn't eat to a little bit of cannabis and I was able to eat, and my headache went away, and I felt great. And that's a side story, but I think it should be told because I don't know, it just should.
It is a side story that should be told, with a whole conversation surrounding the miracle morning for chronic illness. A lot of questions came up surrounding it. We can't go into them right now because people have been online for hours, but maybe we'll come back with another whole conversation surrounding the
Thank
miracle
you.
morning for caregivers, the miracle morning for illness, miracle morning for cancer, because morning routines help everything and everyone.
Yes. All right. Thank you for keeping me on track. So when you're in a dark place, when someone else is in a dark place. So the first thing is you have to make peace with what you can't change. If you listen to the podcast, if you've read my books, if you follow me, right? Like, it's one of the biggest lessons I teach is that painful emotional states are self-created by our wishing and wanting that reality were different than it is. To the degree that we resist reality, we create emotional pain for ourselves, which doesn't help anyone. So if someone is suffering, and I actually had a 1-hour coaching call the other day with a member of the Miracle Morning community that he hired me, reached out. His wife is dying right now. She has stage 4 cancer. And so he said, Hal, I need your help on how do I deal with this? I do my Miracle Morning. I've listened to your podcast. I read, how do I deal with this? The first question is to ask, what is the optimal state for you to be in for yourself and the person that you're caring for? Now, most people will fake that in front of the person they're caring for, right? My dad never let me see how much he was dying and how torn up he was. But faking it is not ideal. It's better than nothing, right? It's probably better than falling apart in front of that person that needs you to be strong for them, but it's not optimal. What's optimal is for you to actually tap into your strength for real, so that even when they're not there, you're at peace with what you can't change, and all of your energy is into going what you can control, what's in your control, which is showing up at your best for yourself, for those you love, and for those you lead. And so if you are a caregiver, every morning I would do my Miracle Morning and I would be at peace with exact reality exactly as it is. I started to mention this earlier. I didn't fully go into it, but with death, right? I'm very at peace with death. To me, death and birth are two sides of the same coin. Think about that. If you are born, you are going to die. It might happen in 80 years, or it might happen in 8 years, or it could be anywhere in between. And what I realize is I decided it doesn't make any sense to me to fear or dread an inevitability. Death is an inevitability. And consider that, ask yourself, is there any value in fearing or dreading an inevitability? And again, your death and your loved one's death, they are all inevitabilities. We can either dread them and fear them, or we can be completely at peace with them. The choice is literally ours. I mentioned earlier, to elevate your consciousness is to become more aware of how your thoughts, your words, and your actions impact yourself and others. If you become aware that, death is an inevitability, and it doesn't make sense for me to fear an inevitability or dread an inevitability, and I actually have the choice to be completely at peace with all things, including any inevitability. Your consciousness, just through being aware of that, is now elevated. Now, if you write that down and you affirm it every single day, you can adopt it as a part of your ongoing, ever-present consciousness. And it can become a permanent fixture in who you are and how you view the world. Now, on the other hand, if you hear that right now and you go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it would make sense to be completely at peace with death, mine and everyone else's. But if you don't write that down, the odds are you won't remember it. And then you will fall back into your previous state of consciousness of fearing or dreading death. And of course, you can apply this lesson to any way of thinking, any state of consciousness, any way of being. So that for me is it. Is if someone else is in a dark place and you're caring for them, whether it's physical or mental and emotional. Let me get a little more tactical here. First, get to a state of total peace for yourself and for them, right? That is step one. That's the foundation. Otherwise, everything else is the iceberg, where you're only working on the tip that's showing, but you're a mess down here underneath the surface. You want to handle this. And by the way, when I talk about states of consciousness, I actually use the iceberg analogy, and I say what you see on the surface, those are our short-lived emotional states. And what's under the surface is our state of consciousness. That's the root. That's what we need to work on. So step one is to elevate your consciousness to a place of total peace. And then beyond that, oh, I just realized I have to pick up my kids from school. All right, might have to wrap up. Ursula just pulled up, and that reminds me. All right, so the where are we at? Oh, and then how to interact with someone that's in a dark place is don't try and fix it unless they want you to. So just love them. That's what you can control. How you show up for them, showing up with love and taking care of them, making them feel loved. And I can tell you as a cancer patient, there's nothing more valuable or helpful than to feel like someone loves you and cares about you and would do anything for you. My dad couldn't fix it. Brianna couldn't fix it. My mom they couldn't fix it. And I know that ate him up inside. It didn't have to. And I tried to teach them what I'm teaching you, which is like, guys, I'm fine. Like, I'm at peace with it. You should be at peace with it. Don't let it tear you up inside, right? And so don't try to fix it. Once you find that peace within yourself, bring that energy of peace and love to them. And that's it. And then when you're in a dark place, same thing. It's really not about trying to fix it. It's giving yourself grace to feel what you're feeling, knowing that as long as you maintain positive habits like the miracle morning, right? Eat right, do things that make you feel good, right? Find that place inside of you that feels good no matter what's going on outside of you. And be at peace with where you're at while you envision and move in the direction of where you want to be.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Hal. Guys, give it up for Hal. Drop in the chat what you loved and appreciated, a nugget of wisdom, maybe a thank you, anything that you'd like to say to Hal. This is your moment. And I'm going to give you guys the next 20, 30 seconds for that first part. And then we're going to go into an activity to close this out. Hal always says it's not about him, it's about the community. And we'd love to hear from so many of you surrounding how the Miracle Morning and the community has changed your life. So first, acknowledge Hal for his many hours of genius that he just shared. I know that his mom, his dad, and his beautiful wife will all be coming soon to the screen because so many of you have asked to meet and hear Ursula on a podcast, to meet and hear his mom and dad on a podcast one day. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being here, for spending the last 3.5 hours with us, for your dedication. And as we close out, I just dropped it in the chat. I'd love for you guys to share. Oh, it's getting lost. I'd love for you guys to share. What's the greatest gift that you've received from the Miracle Morning? From the Miracle Morning community? Hi, beautiful. So great. This is you are answering 17 questions in the chat. Can Hal's wife come on again? There you go. There you go, guys. You ask and you show.
Oh, look how cute.
And what we'd love to know as you guys are closing out, thanking Hal for all his generous wisdom, smiling at his beautiful wife, Ursula, we'd love for you to share. What has been the greatest gift that you've received from the Miracle Morning? What's something that you loved and appreciated about your practice, about the community, how it's helped you grow? This is the moment for Hal to hear how the last 10 years have impacted all you guys that stayed on for hours, as in like the super fans, people who actually do the practice.
Thank you.
Thank
you all.
Miracle Morning. It saved my life. This is it, guys. This is your moment. You're with Mr. and Mrs. Elrod themselves. Tell them. Because the truth is, how do we reflect on something and consistently show up for something on hard days? It's when we remember the impact that it's made. I love it. Look at all these things in the chat. Elrod's.
I love all of you. Thank you so much. And again, we're family. I know I haven't even met all of you, right? But we're family. And I hope that I meet, you seen some funny
I'm
comments?
just loving all these comments. Sorry.
It's so great, right? This is the moment. Like, this is the best part of the whole event. How has the Miracle Morning changed your life? What's the greatest gift you received from the Miracle Morning? What would you like to appreciate Hal for from his hours of sharing wisdom? This is the moment, and you'll be able to see how the Miracle Morning has changed other people's lives because the comments are live.
Josh, I'm assuming we can save this chat. I want to read all of these comments at some point.
It is live on your Facebook page and on YouTube.
This will be my R for the next few weeks.
For a moment. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you haven't started a Miracle Morning, this is your moment to do so. If you fell off and you need more support, 7-day trial, the Miracle Morning app is there to support you. You want more momentum, the Miracle Morning free movie is there to support you. You need more help with consistency. Hal's next podcast is coming out on Wednesday. It's there to support you. Literally resources everywhere, but you're the only one who can take action. So thank you so much for all the things you're saying about how the Miracle Morning and you taking action has helped you in many ways.
Yes, Trisha, he does have to go get the kids.
I don't have to actually leave for 9 more minutes to get the kids.
Perfect. All you guys can continue sharing.
Although I haven't gone to the bathroom in 4 hours and I've been drinking all the time. So.
Help me with my cancer journey. Help my marriage. There's so many things that people have said.
Wow.
What has been the greatest gift you've received from the Miracle Morning?
A Facebook user said I'm on day 2,554, so little to no chance I'd fall off the bandwagon. Oh, there we go. Josh put it up. Hey, how do we feel about closing out with a song?
Funny you should mention that. There's a song waiting for him, a musician waiting in the background.
We have Brother James
is here and waiting for you.
Oh, you guys are in for a treat. You are in for a treat. Thank you all for...
Co-written by myself and Hal Elrod to spread the mission of the Miracle Morning of empowering and raising the consciousness of one person, one morning at a time through the power of music as well. It goes like this. And I'll invite you, if you're sitting down, go ahead and stand up. Create a little bit of movement. Feel free to dance. Feel free to take some deep breaths. When life is not where we want it to be, when we're getting stressed out with our reality, walking out the door 10 minutes too late, driving to a job that's good, not great. We want to be free, live in harmony. Well, we need a miracle, no more mediocrity. It's time to feel great and change our fate. It's time to make it happen. We know what it's gonna take. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up to live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring the best in you and me. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up, come on, we're gonna live in our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring out the best in you and me. Wake up to the full potential. Your miracle morning is so essential. Win the morning, win the day. With the work done early, we can play. Change our life and our behavior. Start the day with 6 life savers. Time to make a little bit of space, slow down. Life's not a race. Silence is my meditation. I program my thoughts with the affirmation. See the future with the visualization. My body gets right with activation. Words we read what I think. So try those through the ink. Early to bed, early to rise. Time to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up to live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. I bring out the best in you and me. This is a miracle morning. Whoa, we're waking up, come on, to live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. I bring out the best in you and me. Come on, wake up to who we are. Let go of who we've been. Wake up that shining star. Let's be a version. This is my miracle. This is my miracle, yeah. This is my miracle. Well, this is my miracle morning. It's time to get that morning. It's time to stop snoring. This is a miracle morning. Oh, we're waking up, girl. We're gonna live in our dreams. This is a miracle morning. I bring out the best in you and me. Come on. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up, come on, we're gonna live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring out the best in you and me.
All right, y'all. Hey, we're going to wrap this up, and I have a lot of people asking, who's that musician? That is Brother James, Brotha. He also facilitates and leads our monthly Miracle Morning gatherings. Brother James, and you can also listen to that song. You can get it on iTunes or Spotify, wherever music is for the most part. Miracle Morning community, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this special 10-year anniversary event. I did not know we'd go 4 hours. I got to go pick up my kids. I love you. I'll see you next time.